Good morning, everybody. Wow, it has been a hell of a week with these interviews, and I'm joined with Derek Apsche, who came second at the, and I want to say this entire tournament name because it's absolutely ridiculous. The Krumpmus Klaws Brawl Warhammer 40K Grand Tournament at Mythicos Studios Mahwah.
Got it. Yeah.
That's a hell of a name.
Krumpus Crawl, I guess. That's what they call it.
Krumpus Crawl. Oh, my bad. It's all like orc speak, so it's not really English. You know what I mean? Anyway,
We went there last year and it was such a good time. So we're like, all right, let's go again. And we brought the whole team with us this time.
that's rad. Well, you came in second place. I know that East Coast meta is pretty brutal. You got through, gosh, you got through Harlequins, you got through Orks, you got through Tau, Tyranids, Blood Angels, and then you played at the top table, Thousand Suns. To get there, you had to stomp the 11th best ranked player in the world, who is the leader of Team Scotland. And
Yes.
by stomp, I mean win. That was not a stomping, but we'll get there later. So congratulations, dude. Like, I think the last time you were on my show, we were just drinking and modeling and talking about
I
Grey
showed
Knights.
somebody that video and it was like 5 hours long.
Yeah,
Of us just talking and drinking Grey Nights.
yeah, man. That's
Yeah, that
that's
was funny.
um so a reminder to everybody, we do these lives so you can ask us questions. So don't fear that you're off topic or whatever, just throw it in there. I'm sure Sindri will be in here to ask you about power swords versus or sorry, force swords versus halberds. But how about we just get right into to your list, man? You ready for this?
Yep.
And I know we both just woke up, so we're a little hit and
You a lot
miss
earlier than me.
at the moment. That's true, but I just want to talk Grey Knights. So I have up your list here. I thought you went. Is it? I thought you were a big Blades of Victory guy, but I saw this
I
was
am.
Prescient Brethren, and that surprised me.
I am. It's just the last tournament I played, it just didn't really perform like I wanted to. And you always have that one mission where you can't even use it.
Yeah.
You kind of just can't even advance in the center. And I just know that like players like this, they're gonna be very good to know how to defend against it. So they'll put like a whole row of cultists just up front, and I'm like, all right, am I gonna trade a unit of interceptors for cultists?
No.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I switched it to Prescient.
You start with 3 CP, which is one more than I think I see in most lists. Which
Yeah.
is, yeah. So you have some really interesting tech pieces in here, and I want to kind of focus on those. So we have of course, we have the Mortal Wounds Librarian is your first HQ. Everybody does this. Everyone loves it, except you have 2 cool things in here. The first thing is you took the Cuirass of Sacrifice instead of another relic to make it a little tankier. Yeah.
So when you think of the librarian, like I think once people have seen the Curse of Sacrifice, right, they put it always on their librarian because you can't put it on a Dread Knight. If you could, everybody would put it on a Dread Knight. Like, can you imagine a fucking Grand Master with a 2-up and -1 to his armor save and a 3++? Like it's insane. So you put it on the librarian because that's a lot better than the 3++ once per game. You get the 5-up Feel No Pain. He's just a little tank. Terminator armor in cover. You're sitting at like a 0-up save.
Mhm.
Um, it's tanky, and you
Bas-
want your Libby to live. So
It's
that's almost an auto include every time you bring your librarian.
it's basically a like a little Terminator Paladin Libby.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I love this as well. Presage Paralysis. So I've been shoving this into my lists as well. For those of you who aren't familiar, because we don't see it in a lot of lists, this is the power where just once per game, as long as your librarian is alive and on the table, you can point at an enemy unit and say, you can't overwatch. It's fantastic for going into big nasty things or big blobs of nasty things.
I think after my last tournament, I was just reading through the book to see what else I can do to the list. And I read these like the definition. I'm like, wait a minute, is that real? Like, did I just never see that ever again, like ever before? So I'm like, all right, this can't be real. So I posted it. Everybody's like, yeah, you can't. That's amazing. So I added it to the list, and then I played demons, and just being able to shut off the flamer Overwatch, like the 36 auto hitting strength 6 -2 1 damage flamers, is just such a slap in the face to the other person. But it's a 10-point upgrade that if you trade 10 points to have your 130-point squad live and murder the 6+ save flamers, it's worth it every time.
Yeah.
So that was a huge add to the list. 100%.
Yeah, it's just, it's a cool tech piece. I think it's only like 10 points, so it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, 10 points.
Yeah, can't stick it on any um named characters, but it's so good. I've been loving it. Lots of like kill rigs in my meta and stuff out here, and those things have a horrifically powerful flamer on Overwatch that I just don't want to ever take in the face. So
Surprising, there's a lot of flamers in the meta. Not just chaos, but you got any type of, like, I played Blood Angels guy. He has the Centurions that all have like the heavy flamers and bolters. So it's just a shit ton of shots coming at you. Who else was it? Tau, obviously.
yeah,
Like Tau's
yeah,
a huge crutch against Grey Knights. So just having that little F you in the back pocket, it's always fun. Because they also have the -2 charge strat. Because
yep,
they're already saying, all right, well now you have to charge me further, but you can say, all right, well you can't overwatch me anyway. So
yeah. So good luck. um, I want to point out what isn't in here. Can anybody
oh
see
shit,
what isn't in here? There's no Big Daddy Grandmaster Dread Knight up in this list.
there's
So
not.
that's uh that's interesting. Can you tell me why you made that call? Because I mean,
Um,
everybody, you put, Sigil of Exigence on him, and either the gem or Servant of the Throne, and he's just so hard to deal with. I've had games where people just ignore him until they can charge him.
uh, I took him out because of Prescient. I needed one person to cast the Prescient power every single time, which is the Tech Priest. The Tech Priest with still 2 dreads in the list is great. um, so if I brought the Grandmaster, it would have been Grandmaster, Drago, and the Libby. Then I would have to bring an Apothecary, which is an extra 100 points, to cast Prescient Brotherhood. So the trade-off was gearing mainly towards the secondaries and the Prescient Brotherhood, and not gearing towards like one monstrous dude that's 245 points, fully
Yeah,
buffed up.
that's fair.
So if I bring a Tech Priest, that's 90 points. I have 50 points left over that I can bring a unit of interceptors and servitors and upgrades, like that extra 10-point upgrade. And I mainly focused on getting secondaries with this GT instead of tabling my opponent like Blaze of Victory does. So it's
Okay.
just a different take on the Prescient rather than Blaze of Victory. I think Blaze of Victory, you need the Grandmaster, but Prescient, you need an extra model to cast the CP strat.
Right. That tracks. That's awesome. Um, Speaking of which, your Tech Marine, Gate of Infinity, Divination, Foretelling of Locust. I think we see Foretelling in like every list ever because it's like the best 20 points in the book.
I always say you need it.
Yeah.
It's a must. Like anytime you make a list, that's the first thing you put on your character.
Those redeployments, a lot of armies have them, but they're CP. Like Ultramarines and Eldari have it, but it's 2 CP. Ours, we just buy it in the list with points. That's amazing. So,
Yeah,
like, if
100%.
you if you're like me and you're terrible at deployment and you play Eldari, you have to spend 2 of your 3 CP that you probably start the game with, to actually fix your mistakes. So this is great. I add it into every one of my lists because, again, I'm terrible at this game. Although I am curious as to how, like, you're doing Gate, which to me is a power that, like, you want to cast every single turn, and Divination, and you can't do a psychic action, and cast a power at the same time. So why did you choose, like, so the normal combo, or normal, the more common combo that we see is you see warp shaping on whoever has divination. So why Gate?
So gate is because let's say Drago gets into a pickle and he needs to go out and kill something, or they deep strike in your back line and Drago somehow blows up. You need still one more model to have gate because if you're taking teleport assault, like you need that gate to go off. So I'd rather still have the gate on a model than divination. Yes, you're losing a CP, but at least you can try and still cast gate and get 4 points a turn.
Yeah.
I stopped taking warp shaping in my lists.
I was gonna point that out later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So stop taking it because I always start in the 30-inch range for my Dread Knights and the Mortal Wound, like Nemesis Tide.
Tide of Convergence.
Yeah, you either hop out of your Ruin or your Rhino and charge something, so you need it, or your turn 2, which then now they're closer, you hop out of your Rhino, charge something, now you need it. So why am I wasting a cast on Tide of Shadows when mostly everything in this game ignores cover anyway?
That's a good point. Like, Tide of Shadows, I feel, is clutch as hell into certain matchups, but into like Tau, it's worthless. Into Iron Warriors, it's worthless. I think they ignore cover, right? Like,
My main guy I play is Iron Warriors.
Nice. So yeah, you're like, this is a waste of Tide of Shadows is a waste.
Yep.
Um,
and you have it for mainly one turn. Like I've never seen a Grey Knight player that doesn't attack, until turn 3. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
You have such like hard-hitting powers, like you just want to go after the opponent.
Absolutely. And then your final guy, we know him, we love him. Here's Kaldor Drago himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Gate of Infinity, Empiric Amplification, and Sanctuary. He knows 3, casts 2. I think he denies 2 as well. He's a little librarian. Like, I think I say that on my show a lot because I think people forget that. He's not only good in combat, he not only has a master-crafted Stormbolter, but he's a little librarian.
There's some things that I can say about Drago. He should be a lot better than he is.
Oh no. When you compare him to like
anybody else,
like Trajan, he's too expensive. I agree, but
he should get the full rerolls to hit and wound. He should like think about
how
Abaddon,
you really feel.
Right? I know he's not Abaddon. I know Abaddon's 300 points, but like you think Trajan, like for example, like he only gives reroll hits. That's it. Then everything within 1 inch gets reroll ones. Like think about Vol. Vol should have reroll hits and wounds, and can give out full rerolls to hit and wound. I think. Like Vol is an example of how Drago should be.
The support,
like -1 damage.
Yeah.
-1 damage, like all that shit. So I love Drago. I think Drago, bless you, is should be in almost every list just because of the utility he does.
Yeah.
He's able to cast 2 powers, 3 if you spend the extra CP. He's got the 3+ invuln save, and he's a monster in combat. So he's like the backfield holder. Like you always need that one thing in the backfield, so that way in case they come at you, you can just walk out and kill with Drago. And with Empiric Amplification, Drago has 4 damage weapon, which also counts towards Nemesis weapon. So it does mortal wounds as well.
So yes, yeah, he has the Titan sword.
Yeah.
which they call out specifically is a nemesis weapon. Do you
Mhm.
so you say you use them in your backfield? That means Empiric Amplification isn't up in the front lines with the rest of your dudes. So is that's a conscious decision?
That was harder to play this weekend compared to having just the Dread Knight there to walk up and cast it from really close. So what I had to do is play very careful with him. And if I needed to, let's say I wasn't playing Thousand Suns where they could just nuke Drago off the table, he would hop up to the second floor to get line of sight on something and then cast the extra range. So now he's at 18 inches. If he has to get out of the building, I make sure that I protect him to cast it, but he'll try to extend it to try and get on something. Now, I didn't really cast it on a lot of stuff far away. So the dreads didn't really do a lot. They killed shit that, like the Quins, they killed the Quins bikes pretty easily, or the Quins carriers. They killed the Orc carriers pretty easily. Like anything that didn't have armor contempt died from the Dread Knights. But then everything else that didn't die from the Dread Knights.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
played the Blood Angels player and I shot just a random unit of dudes and I didn't kill any of them. Like with 2 full Dread Knights, didn't kill one of them.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's a huge crutch to us, the armor contempt. But when they get close, they're dead. Like they don't want to come close to the jet to us, which is hilarious.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know. I feel like 180 points, your grandma, and like he's not able to give out his rerolls or anything if he's in the backfield. I need to see this played. You know what I mean?
So
Like,
I took pictures.
like Crow in the back makes sense. He's excellent. Like counter charge if you like, he fights on death. He's got a really good melee weapon. And usually people slap like warp shaping on him and just call it good. But Drago is like, he's a threat.
So if you see any of the games, I changed up my playstyle. I think last time we talked, I was just like, all right, I'm going to throw everything in front of my opponent and see what they could do. Well, now that doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So you have to start throwing interceptors out one at a time from your building, buff them up, throw them out there, throw sanctuary on them, and hope they live. Sometimes you might even hop an interceptor out to the center objective, cast Purify Ritual, and then gate them back behind the building again. So there's a lot of like plays that you're doing that to go back and forth to try not to trade low. Like I always want to trade even or high. So like if you're throwing 130 points out just to cast Purify Ritual and then they die, that's a terrible trade. Like that you don't want to do that.
No.
So I'll have the box of Rhino with interceptors out there. I'll have guys going north to the north objective, which they are usually not buffed up, but the guys going in the center are going to be the ones that get buffed up from Drago.
All right.
And you can always buff up the Dread Knight as well. So Dread Knight's usually staying back behind the buildings to just peek out, get line of sight. So you put 1 full rerolls on the Dread Knight and then +1 to hit from the Tech Marine on the other one. So both your Dreads are at least shooting platforms from the back, 30 inches away.
Absolutely.
And the full rerolls to hit on the Nemesis Dread Knight with the Demon Hammer is almost a must. Like hitting on 4s, no rerolls is shit. So you want to get full rerolls.
We haven't gotten there yet, but that's another one of your interesting tech choices. I was like, what?
Yeah, why the hammer?
Your troops, we all bring 3 units of strikes, really. We don't see a lot of Terminators. You bring an Incinerator in every single squad. Is that just a counter charge choice? Like, are you just letting your enemies know they could potentially eat, D6 flame shots to the face if they charge?
It's a mind game. It's like an auto hitting thing, so you can hit some flyers if you need to. But just telling your opponent, like, oh, all my guys have incinerators in them. Strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage. Knowing that I'll roll a 1 on the Overwatch, but still, they don't know that I'm going to roll a 1. And
true.
Then, like, they don't want to charge, or they try and, like, get around it or shoot them more or whatever, and, like, the incinerator could be the first one dead anyway. But just having those free upgrades in your units, just one of them, I think is huge. Because, like, let's say you deep strike a unit and you want to get teleport assault. Well, now you have some bolters and a flamer auto hitting cultists in the backfield is huge. You know, wounding on twos. So I bring it really for teleport assault and just for like the mind game, so that way they don't want to charge my unit. It stopped the Harlequins player, I think, for 5 minutes to think about it. He's like, all right, do I charge my 5 tropes into this
Yeah.
fucking incinerator? And he eventually did, and I killed 4 of them. So it's definitely a mind game, especially if you're
Yeah.
playing clock. It's all a mind game.
Nice, nice. I know you were a big proponent when the book hit and your channel started really like taking off. You were big on like bringing the free silencer
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it is free, obviously,
yeah.
but it's AP0 and it's
it
strength
was a good
4.
idea with
And
impaired amplification, but
yeah,
now it's like not at all. So.
yeah, with AOC, like the not like the silencer was super good before AOC, it wasn't, and now it's even worse. You know?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. Armor contempt taking it to a AP0 weapon is not that good anymore.
yeah. I thought it was AP0 out the. Isn't it AP0 right, like on the data sheet? Yeah,
Is
whatever.
it AP0? I thought it was AP1.
Yeah.
Oh well, haven't used it in a while.
Yeah, the troop psi cannon I think is AP1, damage 2, strength 7, and that's why the heavy one on the Dread Knight is strength 8 minus 2, damage 2.
Gotcha.
I think it's the same thing on the silencer, but yeah. Um, we have our first question. They're asking you about the Thousand Suns matchup. You fought at the top table at this tournament into Thousand Suns. Do you want to save this question till we talk about that specifically, or do you want to just launch into that now? And then
I could just say it was against like what, TJ Lannigan, who's like one of the top players in the
yeah,
world.
he is
So
the 30th ranked player on the planet right now. Yeah.
yeah. So knowing that going into it, I just wanted to do a roll off, honestly, and then go home. It's like the 6th game.
Yeah.
But
I
we played it out because he would have got so much shit for it. So his list, he didn't even have to look at my list. He didn't have to really play the game. His secondaries and everything that he did was on his side of the table. And he could have waited till turn 5 to max out his 1 secondary. So he could literally have played literally anybody and max out his points, which he did, I think, almost every single game.
Yeah,
Against me, it was a little bit different with the psychic powers, trying to be able to stop him and cast mine and stuff like that. So it was more of like a 4D chess match. But he made some mistakes. I took advantage of those mistakes, and it was actually a closer game than me and him thought. Plus, everybody around watching us, they were like, "Holy shit! I can't believe Grey Knights did that much to TJ or whatever."
Yeah.
But we
Especially
talked at the end.
this punk ass nobody.
Exactly. Wearing my fucking Hello Kitty shirt and then my backwards hat says Dirtbags on it.
Beautiful.
So with that game, we talked it at the end, and there's really nothing else that I could have done to get more points because I maxed out ritual. I got 9 on killing shit, and then I got like 10 for banners or something. So like everything I could have done, I did. So there wasn't really anything that I shouldn't have done against that game. It was just a tough matchup.
I think we'll get into more specifics when we go into this matchup. But just for a data point, the lowest he scored, TJ scored the entire event was an 85. Most of his scores were in the 90s. And this game was 88 to 82. So you lost by 6 points, which is not very much. So that's a pretty tight game, man. So
if he doesn't kill my one character, like, because on turn 5 or whatever, like, we talked it out. So we don't know if that was like the actual score. But if he kills my character, he gets like 5 or 6 points for his secondary. So if I could just like block
assassination plus or something in their book.
It's his Thousand Suns assassinating with a psychic power.
Oh, okay. So if
and of course all my guys are psychers.
Right.
So it's like character and psyker, you get an extra 2 points. Um, so he killed my guy essentially at the end, nuked him. I didn't make a save or didn't block it or whatever. And that's how he can get 15 pretty easily on turn 5. So if I would have like hid them really well, it would have been like a 1 or 2 point game.
Wow, that's incredible. I love those nail biters that are that close, but I can
Yeah,
also
halfway
see
through the game,
how
he's like, "I think I lost this game," and I'm like, "Yes."
nice. That's
But then
awesome, man.
he
Oh, what? Sorry.
no, and then he just came back and shat on me.
Beautiful. All right. Well, into your elites here, you got servitors. They're there to run around and raise banners and do deep strike denial. At least that's what I use them for. I also use
Yeah.
them as if folks get really close to me with like a big scary unit, I'll charge with the servitors first. It's like if you want to Overwatch 30 points of models, please do.
Yep.
Um,
So that, and also I did it one game where they tied up a Terminator unit. So like think about the fully buffed up Chaos Terminator unit.
yeah,
You charge them in, spread them out base to base, all of them. So that way you charge one Terminator that's like kind of towards the edge, and then your 5 guys can attack that one guy, and he can't pile in to fight first because he's got to pile in 0 inches and attack your servitors. So then you get like an extra round of attacking the Terminators.
yeah, and then you're only being swung back on by like
One or two
one or
guys.
two, yeah, which is huge. But
Yeah.
those Terminators can get like transhuman, um, resing
Oh, I
one or
didn't say it was a
two.
great
Like,
plan. It was
no,
just a good way to stop his Terminators
my
from moving forward.
I wasn't trying to crap on your play. I was pointing out how hard they are to kill and
Yeah,
keep down.
yeah,
Because you can
they're
like,
very good.
yeah, you can buff the shit out of them. And then you
I,
have
and I I play
oh
I play Kiva all the time, and he runs the brick in the middle. And I wait till he doesn't pass the trans hitman or feel no pain, and then I'm like, all right, here's my entire army.
now I can pick you up.
Yeah.
So you have a 3-man paladin squad. We're seeing some paladins come back. I think I mean, you're the third guest I've had on playing Grey Knights now in the last few weeks, and they have all had paladins in their list, which is super cool. What an interesting lore unit that we did not see have any play at the start of ninth when we got our book. But you brought 3, so you're obviously you've thought this all the way through, right? Like are you bringing them down for like engage? Are you bringing them down for like behind enemy lines because they're 3 bases is kind of small. They're really hard to kill. So like when you built your list, were you thinking behind enemy lines or what?
So great question. Um, uh, all my test games with the librarian, he always needs somebody to come down with, whether it be a strike squad, purifier squad, or interceptor squad. So if the Libby just comes down by himself, he's very easy to get shot or targeted. So you always need somebody to deep strike with the librarian, so that way he's protected, so you can at least get maybe 2 or 3 turns out of him,
Okay.
right? So I kept trying the strikes, and they just kept dying. 3+ saves in the open, pretty dead. 3+ saves in forest, dead. 3+ saves in cover, dead. So they weren't working as much.
Yeah.
So the other option is like, a 5-man paladin squad, but again, just so many fucking points, you don't want to throw that in with no support. So I'm like, oh wait, paladins can go 3-mans, kind of like the Death Guard Terminator units.
Mm-hmm.
I wish paladins had bodyguard. That would be amazing.
Yep, that's one of the things
But
I thought they'd get in ninth, but they
yeah,
didn't get it.
they should have. It makes sense with the lore and everything. But
It does.
they come down with the Terminator. You put them in cover. They cast their +1 to their armor save. They then are immovable. Nobody wants to shoot them. Nobody wants to charge them. I'm like, oh yeah, they have 4 or 5 attacks, -3, 2 damage. They have a 0 up save. Like they're like, oh shit. So
Yeah,
they're like,
and they
"Hey,
hit
let me
on
go."
twos.
Yeah, and they hit on twos. Let me go this way now.
Yeah,
That's like their thought. So you either deep strike them in the back, they get 12 shots with their storm bolters, like they can cast smite if they really want to help the librarian out if there's nobody like really threatening around them.
Mm-hmm.
And then your Libby is literally popped right in the center of the paladins, just so that way they can't get to your librarian without attacking the paladins. So paladins, like people hear just nightmares about them. So again, it's all a mind game of like, hey, here's my paladins in your backfield. They also have Purify Flame. Purify Flame can be cast twice in a turn, only needing a 5 to cast. So if they come down, cast Ethereal Castigation or whatever the +1 armor save, they then can move up or run and get a Purify Flame off while the Libby gets a Purify Flame off. So that's like 6 to 7 mortal wounds just from 2 casts.
So you always bring these guys down in a blob from deep strike.
Yeah, they started on the table once with the Tau. They started on the table just because I wanted to get banners and purify ritual like as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So they started on the table with Tau, and my librarian actually started on the table as well. So that was the only game that they actually started on the table. Every other game they deep struck.
Interesting. I've tried that play and I could never get the Libby to pop off without spending. You got to spend at least 1 CP to increase the range, and then you gotta you want to spend 2 for 3d6 to cast, and it just gets like so expensive, and then you want to spend a third to get that third cast for the smite, and it's just like, woof.
So why do you think I start with 3 CP?
Right. No,
and running Prescient Brotherhood.
Yeah, no, I totally dig it.
He soaks up so much CP. That's basically, he was the MVP, honestly, the entire weekend was the librarian. And the reason was because I kind of tailored the list around him. Like just protecting him, making sure the CP's there for him, being very defensive for him. So it's like the whole list was just about like, all right, here comes my librarian. Can you deal with him? And most of the time they couldn't.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I tell you how much shit he killed this weekend. You add up how many points, it was probably, I don't know, 3,000 points himself.
Awesome. Well, we have some questions. So Adam Skinner asked an interesting one, and they asked if you're interested in dropping Sanctuary, and then they ask about warding staves. Those two don't really tie together. Like Sanctuary is a power, and a warding stave, we don't see them very often in the meta, just because actually yesterday I interviewed, or on Tuesday, I interviewed JP Markwart, and he brought 1 warding stave in a strike squad that he leaves on his backfield.
Yeah.
And he says occasionally he spends the CP to use the invul if they drop like obliterators back there or something. Otherwise they're just dead. So yeah, oh, I see what he means. Okay, I got it now. I thought, okay, this is my bad, and maybe it's just too...
It's 5 o'clock in the morning.
Early. I thought you meant put a warding save on Drago, and I'm like, that's not a thing, you can't do that. I see what you're saying now. Instead of bringing the Sanctuary power, put warding saves in the squads that you think might need the invul. I got it now.
So the thing with warding staves is it's an extra CP that you have to spend, which I don't want to. Anything that you can not spend CP for, I try not to do. With Armor Contempt now, my sidebolt ammunition kind of went out the window, so I haven't really casted sidebolt ammunition unless it's for like Cultists or Tau, Crude, or something really low that I know I can kill. But sidebolt ammunition went away. I never cast Transhuman. Like I think I did once, like all tournament, which is 2 CP for 5 guys.
So expensive for us for no reason.
It's so expensive. All of our strats, and the warding staff is just 1 CP for a 5-up invuln save. So it's not really worth it in my eyes because they're probably just going to die anyway. Most things that are shooting your strikes are 2, 3, maybe 6 damage weapons. So you're not really going to live. Like even if you happen to roll amazing, you're probably just going to get charged and die anyway. So I try not to take warding staffs because then it'll tempt me to spend a CP, and I don't want to.
Yeah, that's
But Sanctuary is a spell that you could get rid of. I know he ran Ghostly Bonds, and I was trying Ghostly Bonds as well, just because of the Emperor's Children Termi brick. But somebody posted in the comments in one of my videos where it's division before addition. So you have to divide their movement before you add their extra 6-inch movement, which I didn't know. I thought it was just like you divide 11 by 2, now they only move 5 inches. So I was like, oh, that's amazing for Emperor's Children, but it's really not. So you divide their 5 by 2, which is 3, and then you add 6, 9 inches. So
it's
they have
still,
a 9-inch charge on you, you know? So it's like, it's not really worth it. It would only be worth it for like huge demons that move 14 inches or Mortarion or something like that. But I think Ghostly Bonds is not as good as I thought it was going to be. So you can get rid of Sanctuary, bring like another Vortex of Doom if you really want to. But I really like Sanctuary because since I'm running my Drago as like a buffer, he's in the backfield behind the building, and you don't need a line of sight for Sanctuary. You don't need line of sight for Gate of Affinity. They're both 18-inch casts. So you can literally just throw Sanctuary on the guy that ran to the center for a 4-up invuln save for free, essentially. Like, you need to roll 6, but you cast 3 dice if you really need it. You throw Sanctuary on them, you gate another guy, and that's basically all Drago's job is to do. Yeah. When they get close to me, then I can cast Empiric Amplification. But Sanctuary is there just to have an extra spell to throw out for free. Yeah. I don't know what other thing he can take that would really benefit the army, you know?
Yeah. And that's fair. I've had Sanctuary casts on an Interceptor squad, and then have that like Interceptor squad just stick around for far longer than anybody expected them to, you know.
And that's my play style as well. Is like turn 1, you buff up a squad, throw them forward, cast in the center, and then they charge. So it's like they have Sanctuary while tying up the entire front field of their army, and that's what I did against the Quinn army. Is I tied up 4 boats turn 1
with 1 unit of interceptors. Oh, very cool. Nice. Well, we'll get into that here really soon. But we got to finish this list. This is how it usually goes. The first like 45 minutes to an hour is usually just
a list.
Yeah. So then you have 25 interceptors, all with swords. Do you find you miss the extra strength from the halberds because they don't get hammerhand?
No, because the AP is worth it over the plus. You know, most of the time you're going to be wounding on 3s anyway. So almost rarely you're going to get, you know, a toughness 3 that you're going to like throw your interceptors into to assault or to attack, because you're just going to shoot them off the table most likely. Mm-hmm. So when you're charging stuff, what's toughness 5? You know, like Terminators, Nurgle, some characters, stuff like that. It's like
you mean Nurgle really Terminators are 5 because Terminators.
Well, you can put Chaos Terminators up to toughness 5 with the spell.
Yeah. Got it.
So like, there's not a ton that you're going into your interceptors with that are toughness 5. If they're toughness, you know, 6, 7, 8, that strength 6 is going to still wound on 5s anyway. Yeah. So it's not really a huge difference. Plus the AP 3 is a huge difference. Having them wound on 4s for Terminators rather than 3s. Right, AP 3 -2. Yeah, like 4s for Terminators can kill Terminators. 3s are a lot harder to kill Terminators.
Got it. Okay.
So I switched to swords, and I don't think I'll ever go back.
Thought this through too. Nice. Do you? And it sounds like you always combat squad, and you like buff 1 squad, throw them up. 1 squad, throw them up. Okay.
Yeah. That's the game plan.
All right. Not much to say there. And then you have 2 Dread Knights. 1 has a teleporter and no melee weapon except the fists, and then 1 has no teleporter but has a great hammer. I saw the great hammer on a normal Dread Knight. I wondered what you were smoking. But apparently your thought is they get all the Drago rerolls, so hitting on 4s rerolling is kind of like hitting on 3s. right?
Yeah, I mean, hitting on fours, like sometimes you spike that roll a lot. But most of the time he's gonna miss, like every single time. But the Dreadhammer, D3 plus 3 damage, like they again the mind game, they don't want to charge the the guy that does that much damage. Even though they don't know that he doesn't hit for shit. So anything that like I need to blow up a tank or do crazy to possessed or something like that, he just hits them once and they die.
Right.
AP4 also is a thing. So one for the teleporter, he's the guy that if I need to get teleporter sawed off, I do. And if I could try not to do 2 CP, I try not to. But it's there just in case
That
for the
shunt
second
is
day.
so expensive.
Yeah,
So
100%. It used to be free. Yeah, like even if it was 1 CP, I'd be like, all right, that's worth it. But then he also is like the guy that can fall back, shoot, and charge as well if needed. So I don't think you need 2 of them in your list, just because the one that I play that has the Demon Hammer is very defensive. So he usually gets shot off the table rather than fought in melee. So him in the backfield with Drago, like you're not really getting to my backfield. And I'm just going to keep shooting you from afar with my Dread Knights. I've been super cautious with my Dread Knights recently. And they actually live past turn 3 sometimes.
What?
So they're more of like blowing up rhinos and like planes and shit like that. They don't really kill a lot of infantry now, but they're just there to blow up some tanks and be kind of defensive units.
When you only have 2, like back when ninth was, when we first got our ninth book and you could run 5.
That's amazing. I missed that.
It was great, by the way.
I missed that.
2 grandmasters is better than 1. Who knew? But you could you could throw them away, kind of like trade them. But when you have 2, you're really relying on that firepower because it's our only real decent choice for higher strength firepower. So.
And you said the one had a great sword, right? The teleporting one.
Yeah, that's actually. I was gonna apologize. I misread it. I thought it didn't have a weapon at all. But, yeah.
Like I literally was like, did I just fucking cheat like the entire weekend?
No, you're good.
I looked at my list. I was like, wait, did I have the greatsword on him?
It was there. It was there. I just totally skipped over it.
So he's the melee one. Like if I need to do a sweep attack, he has the teleporter. So he's the one that I can really use offensively or defensively.
Yeah. Fall back, shoot, and charge, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sweep didn't do shit all weekend. I whiffed on my first game and it was so funny. I'll tell you about that later. But the weapons on them are more of like, what if this could happen? Not like I'm gonna charge them at my opponent and hopefully they live.
Gotcha. And then rounding out the list, you have a Rhino, the Venerable Rhino. If you guys haven't played yet, putting interceptors in this stupid 80-point like box, it is incredible. Being able to move 15 and then charge right after. It's nuts.
Yeah, think about it like on the deployment where it's the circle in the center and you're only 18 inches away from each other.
Yep.
You put them like right against the wall in the Rhino. They then hop out 15 inches. They then cast on the center objective to get Purify Ritual. You put Sanctuary on them, and then they charge forward like a 3-inch charge into the front line, and then you tie up like random shit. Also, the 1 CP strat on turn 1 to reroll all hits and wounds of 1. Like that's why it's good, because if Drago doesn't buff them, at least they have reroll hits and wounds of 1.
Yeah.
So
that's very good. And now I will answer. I will ask Dominic's question, because he was probably feeling like I missed it. But anyway, he just wants to I'm sorry, Jacob's question. He wants to know if there's any lists you want or changes you want to make to the list because of guard. We're gonna see a lot more T8 tanks on the field. Guard is already doing well. So I mean, how do you feel running into a bunch of shaft infantry and then, really hard hitting tanks?
So, do tanks ignore line of sight?
No.
There you go.
Um,
So,
I think I think the
with
mortars
game,
do, and like the
mm,
basilisks or some of their artillery does.
but they
But
lose their ignoring that penalty, right? So you still get the -1 to hit me, and then I get +1 to my cover save, right?
yep, yeah, I don't think
So
they lost. Yeah.
I don't know if they lost it because I know the old guard used to ignore that rule, but I think the new guard they can't use that data sheet, so they get that rule back, the indirect fire. So they're -1 to hit you if they can't see you, and then you get +1 to your cover save. So now your guys are essentially 2 up in cover if they can't see you and they're harder to hit.
Yeah.
So if they have tanks and I have dread knights, my dread knights are probably going to be used to either deep strike and try and kill some small units, or wait till turn like 3 potentially to
Mhm.
get Imperial amplification off on a tank, and then deep strike and try and kill that tank for 4 points. So I'm going to use my dread knights more of as a secondary to try and get teleport assault. And then I'm going to try and get my guys in cover out of line of sight on the objectives to cast Purify Ritual. And
Okay.
then the last secondary could be just killing shit. So that way you get just random points for that.
Yeah,
So Teleport
that's the way it
Assault,
usually goes.
yeah, you can do banners or so Teleport Assault, banners, Purify Ritual. Those are like the main 3 that I usually take, especially against guard because they're easy to kill. And you could essentially just ignore the tanks, really, because like if you're out of line of sight, they're not going to run their tanks forward to try and get around the buildings to kill you. So you're just going to camp in the objectives, get your banners, get 4 to 8 points every single turn, and get Purify Ritual until it's maxed. And it's that would be my thing against guard, is focus on secondaries
Yep.
rather than trying to blow up his toughness 8 armor contempt vehicles.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many questions I have about guard because like the new book isn't technically out yet, right? Because like there was a big ruling made by FLG for LVO that guard wouldn't get the new book yet because it isn't technically out yet, even though the combat patrol box is out. The codex isn't official or something. And then they also, at the start of the year, January 1st, a whole lot of the Army of Renowns just drop off.
Mm,
So guard won't get those special rules either. So they don't get their new book and they don't get their prop up rules. So guard
yeah,
has their all their terrible rules. So
yeah,
like I know they're an upcoming threat. I've seen the data sheets. I've seen how cheap that stuff is. And so it's like you have to be thinking about it. But at least at the moment, at least through LVO, it seems like they're not gonna get a lot of those fancy new rules yet. Um,
yeah.
so
There was only
yeah,
2 guard players at the tournament. One was allowed to use the new rules, one was allowed to use the old rules, and they didn't really. I don't think they did too well. I mean, I know it's tough competition there, but I didn't get to play them. I still haven't played them. I played 2 guard players in um, at Nova with my Death Guard, and it wasn't. Again, I haven't played the new codex, but the old codex wasn't that huge. I was able to
yeah.
have their guys run, kill most of their infantry, ignore their tanks, and just really do what you had to do for secondaries.
Um, so you're not gonna to answer his question, you're not gonna change your list. You're just gonna be really careful about staying out of line of sight of all the tanks, right?
Yeah, I think to answer his question, I wouldn't change this list for what it was made to do, which is just focus on secondaries and buff up the librarian. Because I don't know if guard has a 5 up feel no pain to mortal wounds, but tanks do not like taking mortal wounds. And if a librarian
Yeah.
can come down and just blow up a tank, that would be worth it right there. Because you usually come down, you cast from 15 inches away, so you don't have to be 9 inches away. You're pretty far away in cover, just nuking them with mortal wounds.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. And then Dominic was asking how my list last weekend played at the RTT. I will do my own like event AAR probably Sunday morning. I will make sure to post that up everywhere. But if I could just say one word, it would be great. It ran great. I won the event, so can't
That's awesome.
complain.
Congrats, man.
Thanks, dude. And then let's get into your matchups. That's all the questions that's out there now. So we'll switch on over back to the interview view, and we'll get into your first matchup, which was Harlequins. You won this one 93-61. If my first matchup was Quins, I would already be like sweating, man. That's a hard.
That's how I felt.
That's hard. Yeah. That's a tough matchup.
And I play really good Quins players here. Like my last Quins player was like Anthony Vanilla. I played Butler, who's by us. He's like on the auto war team. So like I play really, really good Quins players. So going from like that Quins player to like somebody who hasn't played in a while is a huge difference. So I kind of lucked out the first turn because he used to actually play at that store and he used to win all the tournaments. So he was really good like a year and a half ago. And he just came back in and got picked up Quins. And he actually clocked like bottom of 2. So he took a very, very long time just thinking, moving, planning, all that stuff. So I was kind of just sitting there. You know, I got 5 for Purify Ritual turn 1. I put up 3 banners. I killed a tank for Teleport Assault. So I had a really good turn 1. And then turn 2, I basically did almost the exact same thing. So I was up by like a ton of points and he clocked, but we kind of kept playing it out. He's like, yeah, you have the game. Like, I'm not trying to win the game anymore. I kind of just want to, play, just have fun. I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll play it out. Yeah. So we kept going. And this is the guy that on turn 1, I had turn 1. If he had turn 1, completely different game because they're so fast. They just basically spread out. They took over all the objectives. I can't shoot them. So against Quins in all the boats, if they have turn 1, fuck. Like you're not doing that well in the Quins. Luckily, I got turn 1. My guys hopped out of the Rhino, went up to the center. He put 2 bikes out front, in front of like in the ruin, but out front, and all of his vehicles were kind of interlocked, like how Quins do, and they're all in the ruin. So you could fit like 8 fucking bikes in the ruin or 8 vehicles.
The transports.
Yes. Yep. So basically, you're able to get the charge off, kill the bikes, and then you consolidate 3 inches and tag up 4 vehicles. So when you tag up 4 vehicles, they can't fall back and shoot. The guys can't fall back and shoot. It's really tough to kind of get everybody out there. So that was my turn 1. It was I got all those points and I tied up 4 vehicles in his deployment zone.
Wow.
So that definitely helped, come down. And then turn 2, he was trying to take over my right side of the thing, his left side, my right side. So during that turn, the Pallies came down, Librarian came down, Strikes came down, and I gated a Dread Knight all on that side of the table. So literally he was just walking into murder. Librarian came down and blew up like 2 boats. The guys inside the boats then died to all the bolter fire. And
that's
then
what they do.
And then my top left side of the map, I had 1 strike unit just chilling there the whole game because he never came up to it. So they were just getting their banners, casting their ritual, and just chilling. So most of the battles happened on the right side.
Yeah.
But the flamers made him think.
That's good. I mean, they're free, right? Like, yeah, why not?
Exactly. Strength 6 flamers are pretty cool.
Especially into T3 bodies.
Yeah. AP1, T3.
I mean, you do the math and you think about it and you're like, oh yeah, storm bolters versus T3 bodies. You're like, okay, well, of course that's good. But then when you actually do it, when you're rolling it, oh man, it feels so good. Like catching,
especially when they have a 4-up save, like they just die.
Yeah, like troops in the open or dire Avengers in the open, T3, you just shoot them with 20 shots. You're just like, whatever, let's just shoot. And then you realize, holy shit, I killed like 7 of
them. Yeah. It's sad. They're so glass canny. Like if they get to you, you're dead. But if they get shot, they die.
Yeah. Yeah, they're monsters in combat though.
Yeah, so
Um
I lucked out that first game. Like it was tough Quins, but I lucked out with just the his play style and clocking on turn two.
cool. That's awesome, man. Like again, if I walked into Quinn's my like first game, I would already be sweating bullets, and then you know like winning with a 93. That's pretty solid. So then you went into
Yeah.
Orks. This game was much closer.
Oh my
You
god.
won 71 to 66. Like that is an insanely close game.
Oh my god. That I was sweating. I played this guy last year and he was just such a fun dude to play against. Like he's very chill compared to like the most, grand tournament scene. Like super friendly guy, knew his rules, knew what I did. And his list I haven't I've seen similar lists, but not his specific list. Like it was like a mix, it had everything in it, essentially. Like most orcs, like just bring one, like all buggies, all bikes, all squigs, like all that. He had literally one of like a couple bikes, terminators, squats, commandos, the regular orcs, vehicles, gas. Like he had literally everything in his
Truck
army.
boys,
Yeah, like
buggies.
jump fact character, bike captain, like he had the weird boy, like he had literally everything in his list. So I really liked his list. And I went first again, and I was able to. He had his commandos on his left objective. It was the one with the 6 objectives, so really easy for banners. So he had his thing on the left objective. I hop out of the Rhino again, get up 15 inches, and then make the charge on the commandos and take him off the commandos turn one. So I'm on his objective, blocking out his front line, with his squig riders, so the riders can't get around me. And his one commando lived, which he rolled a fucking one. Um, so he lived and didn't run away. So then he walks up and like plants a banner on his own objective. So that kind of sucked. But then those guys obviously died, but he brought out his bike captain, he brought his jump pack dude up, and then all the squid guys came out to finish off that unit. He kind of overloaded killing that unit, honestly. And then he had two big transports that are psychers. I forget what they're called.
The
They,
the kill rigs, man. Those things are gnarly.
they're
Yeah,
awesome. I love their
those,
model.
it's a great
So
model. Yeah.
he had Gaz and two kill rigs on my right side, while I'm taking over his left side. So he's coming down my right path, which I'm like, well, fuck, that side is now dead. So I'm leaving, kind of like slowly leaving the right side of the battle and moving more towards the left side. Uh, and when my paladins came down and my Libby, they all came down defensively in my ruin on my left side. So that way that he can get 15 inches away from the bike captain and the squigs. So he was evenly between the bike captain squig, so I can choose who I'm smiting and all that shit.
Yeah.
So
You
he just
gotta.
blows up the.
Yeah. That's a. It's just an interesting like part of playing Grey Knights is because Smite is closest visible unit. Like you have to be very diligent about where you're moving models. Like who's the
Yep,
closest model? Like is
yep.
a lot like am I closer to this squad of chaff or the thing that I actually want to blow up, right? You gotta like be real careful about all that. That's
And
all.
line of sight too. Line of sight
Yeah.
is Grey Knights love line of sight because if I stick that little point of my halberd out of the building and I can only see that one model, that model's getting smited. So it's like you can play that little millimeter game with them, and you'd be like, "Oh, here, come here. Can like have them look. Can you see anything besides that one guy?" And they're like, "Nope." I'm like, "All right, I'm smiting that guy." So you can try and play that way, but with his bike captain and his squigs, they were exactly, you say they're exactly 15 inches away from each other, so that way you can choose. All right, who do I have to kill now? Because
Okay.
if you're like, all right, he's only got one more wound left, I'm just going to throw Vortex of Doom onto the squigs. The splash damage does one wound to the bike guy and then blow up the bike guy. That's, I think, something that I did. So I killed the bike captain. I killed the squigs with a lot of psychic powers. And then his jump pack guy, I charged him. And then he fought on death, which I forgot that they have, and just murdered 4 like interceptors.
Yeah.
So I have one interceptor left, blocking his tank from moving out. But basically, I take over that left side again. And then he's slowly coming up the right side with all of his shit. And I didn't know that the one orc secondary, where you go on the objective, and then if they live the next turn, they get 3 points. I didn't know that can
Yeah,
keep
what
getting
is it's
casted
like
on the
bits and
same. Yeah,
uh the good bits, I think is what
good
it's
bits.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really
So he
good
just kept
secondary.
casting on the same objective. I'm like, wait, you can do that? He's like,
Yep.
yeah. I was like, well, fuck, like
Yeah,
that's so good.
they buffed the hell out of that set that secondary, and you can do it with grots too. So you buy like a cheap unit of
Yep,
grots, and that's
that's
all
what
they
he
do
did.
is they just stay there and they just
That's what he did.
Yep.
So he kept doing that, and I couldn't really get to kill them off the objective. Like the one guy that lived, he spent 2 CP for on like turn 3, so that way he can keep doing it on the back objective behind the building. And then the one grot that lived where he rolled a 1, I think, put up a banner on his home objective. So the one character just kept making so many points for his army. It
That's
was
awesome.
annoying, but I loved it because
Yeah.
he was doing so well with that army. Um, and then towards the end of the game, all that was left was the 2 kill rigs. So I guess this goes to the question where the guy, he asked like, all right, what do you do against toughness 8 vehicles? You just fucking ignore him. So he had 2 kill rigs left. Gaz died on turn 4 or 5. He killed a ton of stuff. And then
Yeah, that's what Gaz
I,
does.
yeah, and then I
Gaz
think he
Gaz is a
had
whirlwind, man.
his one tank that came out on my left side died to Smites, the librarian, and the Hammer Dread Knight. So the Hammer Dread Knight walked up and just murdered it. And
Okay.
yeah, the other 2 kill rigs were alive on his home objective and my home objective. So the one kill rig literally went all the way around the field and landed on my home objective, um, and got like 5 point swing at the end.
Wasn't
Because if you could,
where isn't that where you left Drago? Why didn't Drago just go walk up and obliterate that thing?
so Drago was going left towards. He killed Gaz. So Drago charged
Oh,
Gaz and killed
oh,
Gaz, and then Gaz fought back, and I lived with the 3++.
yeah. That's very thematic.
It was cool. And then the kill rigs camped it on my back objective, and we added up all the points, and it was just such a closer game than I thought it was. But you getting the home objective is huge. I couldn't get to his home objective, so we basically got 4 or 5 extra points for being on mine.
Oh, this is
Um,
the one where if you don't hold your own, you lose a point or something.
yeah.
Okay,
So
so
it's the one where
conversion.
if you control the 2 on the opponent's side, you get 2 points. And then at
Uh-huh.
the end of the game, if you control the backfield, you get 4 points. So you can get
Okay.
8 points at the end of the game.
Yeah, and
So
then if you control your opponents, they lose a point, which means that's actually a 5 point swing. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he had a 5, 6, 7 point swing because he held the other objective as well that he just kept doing the fucking secondary on. Um, so again, he swung right, I swung left,
Uh-huh.
and I just had my psychic ritual, um, teleport assault. Did I have that one? No, assassinate, which I got I think 13 for assassinate because I killed all his characters,
Cool.
and then the banners, which I think I only got 9 on banners because he took my right banner down on turn 3.
Um I have so many more questions, but I'm gonna get to our user questions because they're more important. Uh more important than I am. So Sentry's asking who's the MVP. I know he joined a little late, and I know you actually answered this question, but why don't you answer it again?
So the librarian 100% is the MVP. I took him out for a while when I was running Blades of Victory, and I played him one game against like my buddy Keevil, and I was like, why the hell did I ever take this guy out of the list? Like, he's so freaking good.
Yeah.
Um, he killed that game. He did mortal wounds to Gaz. He killed a bike captain. He killed squats. He killed a tank. Um,
Squats or
and lived
grots?
like the squig riders.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so he killed the squig riders, the uh, bike captain, a tank. I think he killed the weird boy when I gated him to the back corner. So when his tanks moved up, I gated my Libby in the backfield and killed the weird boy. So he's just a murder machine. I think every game I used him the most that I possibly could by extending the range, casting 3 dice, and if I needed to cast an extra smite, I did. But most of the time, you didn't really need to.
So, Sindri, his entire list is basically built to support the librarian going in there and just being an absolute mortal wounds hose. So,
Yes.
uh,
Like starting
which,
with 3 CP for Grey Knights is very rare.
well, I mean, theoretically, right? If you go first, you start with 3, you're gonna gain 1 on your turn. If divination actually goes off, you have 5. So yeah,
I've had 7 CP in a couple of my games.
wow, okay.
Yeah,
I don't
7
know. I
CP.
always hover with like 2 left, basically for a interrupt threat is all I do. I just keep 2 so that it's like, do
Yep.
you have enough to interrupt? Yes. I'm not going to, but I do. Yes. uh, and then Ken is asking the opposite question. Like, who did you put in here that you felt did the worst? Like, or did everybody in the list do what you brought them to do? And so like worst means like your servitors are the worst, but if they did their jobs, are they really the worst? You know, like
So great question. I mean, there's nothing, honestly, I said this after the tournament, there's nothing that I would change about this list. Um, besides maybe taking out the tech priest and adding another librarian. I watched the Art of War game yesterday, and he was playing I think Ziegler or whatever his name is was playing Grey Knights into Thousand Suns. I was like, oh shit, I literally just had that matchup, so I want to see like how he did
yeah.
it. And his list was completely different than mine. He didn't bring dreads, he didn't bring a rhino. He brought 10 paladins and 2 librarians.
Wow, I have to
So I
go
was
watch
thinking
that.
about I was thinking about the librarian, 2 librarians before I saw that. So I was like, oh, maybe I could bring 2 librarians. Um, but then again, I need somebody to cast divination. So the tech priest is mainly there for divination and
Mm-hmm.
buffing and healing up the dread knights. So my list specifically, I don't think I would change anything. It performed the exact way that I thought it would perform. Maybe take out a dread knight for more shaft. Like maybe that
Okay.
would be it. But I
So
did like the 2 dread knights, one staying on the field and one deep striking for teleport assault. Um, yeah, so honestly, I don't think I would change my list.
I really do love to see these list changes that we're starting to see now. I mean, you're not the first person to mention a second librarian, and you bring them to basically kind of do what Drago does. They're a supporting caster.
Mm,
I've actually seen one list in the Grey Knights uh, Discord floating around where they brought 2 Mortal Wounds Libbies. One obviously won't have psychic epitome, but
yeah.
like you can stack up Purifying Flame and Smite. They can both cast it. You know, like
So he had
it's
the
great.
librarian with sigil on it.
Mm-hmm.
So he had Purify Flame, Vortex of Doom, and the sigil. So that librarian was probably deep striking, and then somewhere that melee units weren't, just shooting units. So that way, when he comes down, he does all the things, and then when they target him with a shot, he
Yeah,
then just goes somewhere
he
else.
just goes away.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's smart.
So
I
he
love
had
it.
that, which I think I would do.
Yeah, I need
So
to
it'd be 2.
play with more of that jank because we have some jank, and
Yeah.
we're not really like the meta isn't really using it. But when you're
Mhm.
ranked in like a mid tier army, I think playing with the jank is the way that that you win. Um, that's awesome. All right, game 3. This one you won 85 to 83. It was against Tau, which we all know that's another matchup I absolutely am on like eggshells the whole time because one misstep and you lose 400 points of your
So
army.
I have a very bad win ratio with Tal, especially against Brian, who I played. He's a fellow cuddle buddy. He was top 16 in Nova out of like 350 people,
Mm-hmm.
um, and he played Tal. So he is the Tal player in our meta that if if you the reason why people hate Tal is because of Brian, basically. is what I'm trying to say. He runs it so well and so efficiently, know almost every single role that Tal brings. So every time I play Brian, it's always either really close or he just annihilates me, like just tables my army. And last time I played him was at Nova or Goonhammer, which I ran Death Guard, and he two-shotted Mortarion off the table with 2 Riptides. So Mortarion just melted, and that was the last time I beat Brian in a GT on like the second day or my first day to move on. And Grey Knight matchup is a lot harder because he brings the Macaw where he ignores cover, or he has a lot of upgrades where he ignores cover, but then if you're the closest unit, he gets extra like AP, extra damage, or whatever it may be. And we don't really have a lot of fucking stratagems to have our guys, live against all that shooting.
No.
Our
Yeah.
Dread Knights die pretty easily, especially with Riptides. Now, he only brought 1 Riptide, which was the character one. I forget his name.
You can bring a character Riptide? Huh. TIL.
Yeah, whatever's...
Or you mean the like crisis
Not Riptide,
suit?
Hammerhead. Sorry, Hammerhead.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he brought he brought Long Strike.
Yes, so Long Strike, he brought the Melta chick character. He brought a character that jumps up and down in the same turn and ignores cover, a ton of shots. And then he brought another...
I thought they fact all that.
So
that you can't come down, do your whole turn, and then leave on the same turn. I thought they fact all that.
So he comes up and comes... It's basically like a same turn deep strike.
Right.
So I don't know. Like I said, Brian knows all the rules.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know Tal that much.
Yeah,
I only know that they shoot me.
I'm not trying to say I think Tal cheated. I'm saying I thought again, idiot. That's why
you hope that they would fact it, right?
Because it's broken, right?
Yeah. He brought 2 bombers, which are also broken. 2 5-man units of crisis suits with all the shield drones. 1 ignored cover. The other one was just super high AP damage weapons. He brought 2 units of Kroot. And another captain, or the Ethereal that gets +1 CP on a 2+, and a 5-up Field Note Pain, which is stupid, on a 2+. So that was his list. Pretty good Tal list. And again, I think this matchup was mainly him throwing the game. Not throwing the game, but like him giving me what he shouldn't have given me. So it was the long deployment. So we were going this way. This was the objective or the turn where you don't get a CP unless you're starting on the center or the 2 objective markers.
Okay.
So it's crazy because I don't have any advanced deployment. So I basically lose out on 2 CP if I don't go first. So if you bring Prescient, you can potentially get 1 CP back. So you're not down by like fucking 4 CP. So he went first, of course. So he moves up, does banners, and just waits because he can't see my army at all. I hit everything, so he can't see me. His bombers flew over and did some mortal wounds to my Dread Knights, which then I just healed them back up. And then they flew off the table. So you can bomb and fly off the table. So my turn, I took banners as well. So I took banners, Purify Ritual, and Teleport Assault. So he basically hit everything on his side too. So I didn't really have a crazy turn 1. I waited till his bombers came back in to try and get the Teleport Assault or shoot them off the table. And in this game, I started my Librarian on the table as well as my Paladins. So nothing was really in Deep Strike. I think I Deep Struck 1 Dread Knight because I knew if I put both of them on the table, they would probably just die. So throughout the game, we were in building to building. His guys were right against the wall. My guys were right against the wall. So I would hop out 12 with my interceptors, and it was like a 7-inch charge. And I know he has that strat where he can -2 to my charges, which is crazy. Like you don't need line of sight for it. So I need that 9 to make that charge. So then I had my Rhino, which actually went out of the ruin, which was dumb. I think that was the worst mistake I had throughout the game. Rhino went out the side of the building behind the 1 cover, but it was slanted enough where his Hammerhead could shoot him from straight on. So Hammerhead blew up the Rhino pretty easily. The 10 guys got out. 5 guys got forward, 5 guys got back. His uh, plane deep struck and killed the one unit pretty easily, which is crazy. And I had 3 guys left in the other unit. So those guys moved up as well. So I had a 5-man and a 3-man in front of his unit behind the wall. Then I brought out my other interceptors on the other side. So I basically had 3 charges aimed out that turn. I needed to make these charges or I basically lost the game. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to start with the bottom one because I really know he wants to do the CP strat for the top one. So the bottom one had a 7-inch charge. He doesn't use the strat, so I make my charge. They get in. I then say, all right, I'm going to charge with this 3-man unit. And he's like, all right, I'm going to spend a CP -2 to movement. So my 5 goes to a 7. I roll a 7. Here comes the 9-inch charge, right? So I'm like, fuck, if I fail this, I'm dead. I roll, it's like an 11. So I make my charge like pretty easily. They get in. My librarian was gated over there, so my librarian came down and blew up Far Strike, which was hilarious. So Libby blew
Like,
up Far Strike.
like,
So
did he one shot long strike?
I
He
might have
just
had like a Dread Knight shoot at him,
okay.
because I had like some shots going towards Far Strike, and then he went in and did mortal wounds. Like Libby, when you roll, let's say 4 mortal wounds for the Purify Flame, you have, let's say, 4 to 7 mortal wounds from the Vortex of Doom. Now you're at 8, and then a smite for, let's say, 2 more. So you're at 10 mortal wounds just from the Librarian. I think he has like 12 to 14 wounds, maybe. So you only have to get like 1 to 3 side cannons and silencers through onto the Far Strike. So it's pretty easy to kill him if he leaves him in the open.
Yeah, I mean,
So
he's toughness 7, 14 wounds with a 3 up.
there you go. So 14 wounds. So if you do, let's say, 10 mortal wounds, he only has 3 left. Your side cannons are strength 3. You spend 1 CP for +1 AP, +1 strength. So like you're wounding on 5s with the silencer, AP2. You're wounding on 3s with the side cannon, AP3. And you give him full reroll or full rerolls probably, or +1 to hit from the Tech Priest. So he's hitting on 2s. So reliably, he can do pretty well into Far Strike. 1 Dread Knight. So killed Far Strike. Made my charges. Had the full rerolls on the squad up top from Drago. So they just did a shit ton of damage into that squad, and the 3-man killed the rest of the crew on that side. So I think he had 3 guys left on the top, and then he had 5 guys left on the bottom. I killed the drones on the bottom, and I left him with 3 jumpsuits on top. So now his turn. He opts out, murders everything on his side. Libby is alive, so Libby lived. And then now his squad is out front, which Libby just takes him out. He just mortar wounds all of them off the table. And then he has got 5 guys down below. His mistake right here was his last teleporter or last plane deep struck in my backfield, and his captain came in right next to him. So his like jump captain came in, and then his bomber was there. Tried to kill Drago and a strike squad on the objective. Didn't manage to kill him. So on my turn, strikes deep struck. I think turn 3. They came down turn 3 from deep strike. Drago moved up, and then my Dread Knight turned to face the bomber. I had closest target was the captain, so I smited and shot the captain a shit ton of times. Captain was left with 1 wound. He saved 1 drone, and I knew what he was doing with the drone. The drone can then get thrown up in the air to stop a shot on his plane, which he does all the time. So I shoot everything into the plane, and the plane takes all the shots, and he rolls a 6 to blow up. Well, when those planes blow up, it's D6 mortal wounds. Well, his captain only had 1 mortal wound left. So he
Well,
rolls a 6 to blow up his plane. His captain dies. So he literally lost the plane and his captain in 1 turn. On the other side of the table, my mortal wound librarian does 7 fucking mortal wounds to his captain on the back objective, killing both shield drones and taking the one captain down to 1 wound. So I have like a random paladin left, some strikes, and like a random dude in interceptor all shoot storm bolters at this last captain on the back objective. and he finally on the last thing rolls a 2 and fails to save, re-rolls it, rolls a 2 again, and it dies. So I killed
Yay.
both captains and the plane in one turn, just full swing, full tilt into the Grey Knight side. His last ditch effort was to move up his 5-man squad up on top of the center ruins, 16 inches. So just fly 16 inches, and he tries to shoot off the Paladin, the Dread Knight, and the Strike Squad. Well, the Paladin made 2 5-up saves, like AP4 or whatever, made 2 5-up saves to live. So he didn't get his bonuses because the Paladin was the closest model. He wanted to kill the Paladin and get his bonuses on the other attacks
Yeah,
against
yeah.
my Dread Knight and the Strikes.
From
But the Paladin fucking lived. The one Paladin lived at Maka or whatever they call it.
Maka.
So that Paladin was fucking MVP that round. And so he literally has his 5-man unit in between my Grandmaster, Strikes, Paladin, and Dread Knight. So on my turn, they literally just all moved up and just murdered that unit. And this is where I made my mistake. It's such a close game. If you're going into turn 5, you have bottom turn 5, and you have like 10, 15 minutes left on the clock, take your time and count out the points to see where the hell you're at in the game. Because if you don't count out the points and like on turn 5, you're like, oh fuck, I should have done this, this, or this to get 5 points. Well, now you just lost the game because you didn't count the points going into turn 5. So that's what I didn't do. Instead, I gated my Dread Knight from Drago over on his side of the map to try and kill his Ethereal, when I forgot that there's 3 Kroot left on the back objective behind a building, where the Dread Knight could have literally just gated over there, shot everything into the Kroot, and killed the Kroot for 4 points.
That's so another, like, a quick tip, and I do this too. Like, when you're playing these games, especially when you're like, you know, game 3, you're tired as hell, you've been playing all day, right? Like, walk around the table. You don't have to sit on your side, right? Like, and I'll forget entire units shooting because I forget that I put them in a ruin that you can only see from like my opponent's side of the table. So walk around the table, like, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, there's a unit there, I forgot. Or
So me shooting the Ethereal did literally nothing. The Ethereal lived with like 2 wounds left. All the Dread Knight had to do was kill the Kroot to get me 4 points. So I lost out on 4 points for Teleport Assault. My Librarian was trying to get line of sight onto the Ethereal, which I couldn't get. And I was really too far. I was outside of 15 inches. So I was spending too much time trying to get my Murder Librarian to finish off the Ethereal, but I couldn't. So I wasted time on there. And I could have just stayed, like, walked backwards and casted Empiric Amplification, or casted Purify Flame, Purify Ritual on the back objectives just to get more points. Instead, I was solely focused on trying to kill this fucking Ethereal, which did nothing for the game. So basically, what was the end score?
It was 85 to 83.
Yeah, so I should have got 4 points for Teleport Assault, and I should have got maybe 2 more points for Purify Ritual. So I should have had a 6-point swing in that last turn if I would have counted the points. So I literally almost lost because I didn't count the points. And I should have focused more on just getting easy points for the last turn. So that was the biggest mistake I had. And he gave me essentially the game by deep striking his fucking guys in my backfield, blowing up his own commander,
bomber,
and me rolling like fire on his other commander to do a shit ton of mortal wounds.
That's awesome. I mean,
so
sometimes
that was such a close game.
Sometimes the dice, like, they have their own ideas about how the game's gonna go.
Yeah, and he again, he's such a good player. Like every time we play it, especially in GT, me and him always like we're always friendly when we play outside, tournaments. And then like we just let everything happen. Like, yeah, no problem. Let's have some beer, whatever. And then when we get into the GT mode, oh my god, like it's a switch. Me and him just go fucking ham, like measuring everything, asking questions. Like we already know most of it, but it's like pulling out the sticks, measuring everything, like doing all this stuff. Like, oh, dude, it is insane, me and Brian, every time we play each other.
Oh, I'm glad you had fun. That was the end of day 1.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. You're tired as hell. And then you find out the next morning you have to play Nids. And not only do you have to play Nids, you have to play Ennis.
Ennis?
Yeah. who is the 11th best ranked player in the world, uh, piloting a very meta Leviathan list, if I remember right from my list research. And this one
The
is actually
nine.
streamed, by the way. So if you would all
Yeah,
like to watch that, a link to the stream is in the description down below as well. So,
that
how to?
was I went into that and everybody thought that that was just an easy win on his Innis. Like I went into it probably like, all right, I'm gonna gonna lose. Every other top player there was like, all right, Innis is gonna just crush this guy. Again, nobody really knows me. Like TJ knew me because he see me in other GTs. Vanilla knew me because we played before. But then like the Team Canada guy, the Team Scotland guy, Innis, like they don't really know who I am or anything that I do. So first off, before we start this, I had 4 hours of sleep.
Oh boy.
So
Did you
I
get
stayed up
drunky
all night.
pants?
It wasn't even drunky. I had like 3 or 4 drinks, and my roommate um, snored
Oh no.
really loud.
Oh no.
So I eventually kept getting up, and eventually put earbuds in and put music on. And I look at my phone. The last time I looked at it, it was like 3:55 a.m. I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. So I went into the next day knowing that I probably wasn't going to do well. And of course, the first matchup I have is against fucking number 11th ranked player in the world. So
Yeah.
that was fun. All right, so back to the
So
game.
if we're gonna be off on a quick tangent, I want to get to Joshua's question, and we talked about this a little bit when we talked about the librarian in the list portion of the video. But how do you think the durability of the Libby is increased with the grass of sacrifice?
So again, it's all you're probably starting to learn this with my videos is Warhammer 40K in a tournament scene with clock is a mind game. Like you want people to shoot easy targets, like knowing that they're gonna kill shit. When you tell it that your librarian has a 2-up save, +1 to his armor save, 5-up feel no pain, and a 5-up mortal wound save, they're like, fuck. Like I don't even want to target that guy. So when you're saying all this stuff out loud and reminding them like what he has throughout the game, hey, remember he's got a 2-up with a 1-up to his save, they're like, ah, fuck, I don't want to shoot that guy. Plus, being very defensive when he deep strikes, you want to put him in places that he's not going to die. I had a lot of chances, especially in this Tyranid game, to throw him in the backfield, which he was baiting me for. Throw him in the backfield and try and kill some chaff, and it's not really worth that trade because if I can keep my librarian alive for 2-3 turns, he makes up his points easily. So being very defensive, putting him in cover when he deep strikes, so he has a 0-up save. And again, reminding your opponent what he actually has. Like you can tell your opponent, hey, he's over here, watch out for him, but he has a 2-up, 1-up, 0-up in the cover. They're not going to try and put all the resources into that one guy. So he's very defensive. It's a mind game with the librarian. And you also don't want them to shoot him either. Like you want him to shoot him, but you don't want him to shoot him because if they turn around
Yeah,
and actually target him with like a melta gun, you fail your save, you're probably gonna die.
yeah.
But they're like, oh
He's
shit, I
only
don't
got
want him.
5 wounds.
Yeah, yeah, I don't want him to have a 3-up, melta wound save, and I could fail that 3-up. So you want him, you just want to play mind games with the librarian, honestly.
Fucking
Like just have
Magna
fun with
Rail
them.
or something.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why the paladins are there too, to have them go through the almost unkillable paladins to get to the librarian.
Yeah, very cool. All right,
So
let's
the
talk
game.
about Ennis.
So I'm recording a video on my end, and I got up to Brian's game last night before I had to stop, so I haven't talked about this game or the other two games either. So let me see if I can lay this out. So he brought the 2 Flyers, he brought 9 Zenthropes, which are the Mortal Wound guys. He brought 2 units of Raveners, which are like AP5. Is it Kraken that gets it to AP5?
Oh, is it? Did he run Kraken? I thought he ran Leviathan. Let me check, but please
So
carry
it's
on.
nine mortal wound dudes, 2 units of Raveners with guns, 2 Hive Guard units, 2 Flyers, one with the Reaper, one with the other one, um, the Brain Bug, which is like the tall Zenthrope, and then 3 Biovores in the back that are just launching out spore mines. Was that the list that you found?
BCP made that change recently, and it's like kind of hard to find lists now. Let me.
Gotcha.
I can't go to placings. I have to go like to roster. Anyway, it's not
So that's what he ran. It was
exciting.
I think it
There it
was
is.
Kraken.
I got
Yeah,
it.
so he gets plus D3 +3 charges,
Here.
AP 5, so you get no saves on his guys.
I'll
Uh
switch over so we can see it on the stream. And I love that he actually writes down here. He writes down exactly what he gives away for abhor the witch, bring it down, assassinate. For no prisoners, it says here 143 points. Obviously, you can't get 143 points off off of that, but yeah. Yeah. So
um
he went Kraken, Flyrant, Neurothropes, 9 Zone Thropes, so
yep.
lots of Thropes. Yeah. So 2 Flyrants,
And
you got it, man. And then
every
3 Venom Thropes, so every type of Thrope
oh
was
yeah.
on the field.
They're so annoying. So and he brought like gargoyles or something.
Yep. The
And a squad of
flying
warriors which are always in the back.
gargoyles are flying offsec, right? So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have really good strats too. Like they can come back. They have like -1 damage, -1 like attack. Like they have really good defensive strats for the gargoyles.
Awesome.
Um, so you can watch the stream because like it literally was insane how close and tight he played. So nothing against Innis, but I came from a game called War Machine, which is measured to the millimeter. So we always had like sticks that we use and measuring all this shit out. So I'm a very very tight player, and I brought those tools into Warhammer, and all my whole team did as well.
Mm-hmm.
So on turn 1, he hopped out his gargoyles to put a banner on the center objective. He put banners down on the other 2 objectives and kept everybody behind the building, so I couldn't really see anything. My turn 1 is I hopped my interceptors out of the ruin, buffed them up, put sanctuary on them, put down 2 banners, and I casted uh, Purify Ritual on the 2 objectives. I can't get the center objective because he's OPSEC, so I can't cast unless I own it. So I couldn't do that. But my plan was to try and clear off the gargoyles on turn 1, sacrifice my interceptor unit to try and just leave them on the center objective, take down his banner, and kill the gargoyles because I know the gargoyles can do a shit ton of stuff if he keeps them alive. So I make that charge, like it's a 7-inch charge. I make that charge, and I put one guy in 1 inch away from the gargoyle, and my other 2 guys were pretty close. So he goes like, I don't think you'll be able to get 4 guys in there. And I'm like, I could definitely get 4 guys in there. He's like, nah, I don't think so. So I'm like, well, it's half of a half. Like I moved 3 inches, and then I only have to be half of a half for second rank. So I'm like, are you sure? So I pulled the measuring out, and I put one guy, like before I move anybody, I take a dead guy and I put him like where I wanted to move him, and I measure half of half. I had like an extra inch that I could have moved to get into my second rank. And like I had so much room. And at that point, once he said that, I was like, all right, man, I'm measuring everything now. Like every single thing that you do, I do. We're bringing the sticks out. We're measuring. We're calling each other out on everything. And I knew that's how close this game was going to be. Like top
Yeah.
player, GT. He flew all the way over here to play. So I'm like, all right, we have to make this game as tight as possible, which is what we did. Moving on. So I made the charge, killed the gargoyles, finished them off pretty easily because I had full rerolls, wounding on like 3s with mortal wounds. So we finished off the gargoyles. This is where he made his mistake. This was, I think, the killer for the Tyranids, and everybody will say it. He flew up his Flyrant, his Reaper Hive Tyrant. He put the Raveners up. He ran his Brain Bugs up the top side, and he just kept everybody back basically. He shot his Raveners into my interceptors in the center of the board. I failed. It was like 11 3-up saves out of like 17. So that unit dies. But remember what I said, he flew up his Hive Tyrant in the center of the field. So now my turn goes. His Hive Tyrant with the Reaper of whatever sitting in the middle of the battle. His Hive Guard, his bodyguard are all the way in the back. And I'm like, did he just leave his flyer in the middle of the fucking table against all of this like shit? And yes, so that was his mistake. He could have charged my interceptors with his flyer, spend 1 CP, fly 17 inches backwards, and now he basically, I think, wins the game. But he doesn't. I fail all my saves, all my interceptors die, he has nothing to charge, so the flyer is literally just sitting in the middle of the table.
Oh, got it. Yeah, he can only do that if things are still alive, right?
Yeah, so if he kills the unit, he can then fly away.
Oh, that's
Or
okay.
just
Got it.
yeah, so like he needs to do something to fly away. So I deep strike my librarian in my side of the table, 15 inches away from his dude. My paladins come down right in front of the librarian. My dread knights move out of cover to get line of sight on his fucking hive tyrant. And then I think my strikes land to get another smite on the hive tyrant. So literally, I just put everything into this hive tyrant. It dies pretty easily because it has a 3-up save. I think it casted the Feel No Pain save on it, but 5-up Feel No Pain against all this 2 damage and smites coming in, he's not going to live. So I kill the hive tyrant, bottom of turn 2.
That's a big.
And I
That's a big pickup on turn 2.
huge,
That's early in the
huge.
game to just schwack
That
his.
was the turn on turn 2 was him leaving his flying in the middle of the table.
So that was his warlord too.
Yep,
You
and
just
his
like
warlords, we lost imperatives.
yeah, he schwacked his warlord right out the gate.
Oh,
That's
dude,
awesome.
it was bad. So his mistake was shooting his Raveners, which he didn't have to shoot at my guys. That Reaper could have just picked up my unit pretty easily and then fly away. So this is the board where we're playing like diagonals, the board. So we get to move objectives as well. So we both move our objectives to get into whatever. So we both take banners. So almost always like you're both going to get full on primary. And we both I think got full or close to full 11, 10 or 11 on banners. So we were pretty tied there. It all came down to secondaries. My secondary is a Purify Ritual. So I had to get Purify Ritual off with +1 to cast. So I need a 6 to cast because I'm within 18 inches. And then he can deny a shit ton. So basically, it was tough for me to do that. But I forget what I ended up with for Purify Ritual. And then I took Killing Shit. So I knew he was playing Kraken. I knew he had to come out eventually. So on turn 4, that was when he make his break. So all the Raveners kind of ran and move up. The other Raveners ran and move up. All the Zenthos started running up towards me. The Hive Guard ran towards the center. The other Flyer ran towards the center. So basically, everything, his whole army then went from back here to my face, which I knew what he was going to do. So he charges Raveners into my Rhino and strikes on the top side. Rhino lived with like 2 wounds. Strikes died because it's AP5. I don't have any saves on that.
Nope.
So then he consolidates towards me. The other Raveners charged to my interceptors. I interrupted and killed like 3 of them. So he had only 2 left, which he didn't finish all of those guys. I think I had 1 guy live, which then I just fell back and stayed on my home objective. And then everything else smited those Raveners that charged in because I still had my Libya, I still had my Paladins, Purify Flame, Vortex of Doom. So those guys died. The top guys died from strikes. So strikes cast Hammerhand. They moved up and
How
just murdered those Raveners up top.
how was his psychic phase? He brought a lot of psychers. A lot. So
So the
you would have
3
had a lot of
Zenthropes,
denies, right?
the 3 Zenthropes in the back were in the back most of the game, blocking out the backfield, or that's where he wanted me to drop my Librarian. He left a
Oh,
huge gap in the backfield, baiting me to drop my Librarian back there,
yeah.
and you just can't fall for it because then you'll just die. So
You'll
those
get
guys in the back,
swarmed.
there were 3 Zenthopes in the center that were slowly moving towards my lines, and the
Mhm.
1 Zenthope up top I killed pretty early. I killed like turn 1, turn 2, so I killed 3 Zenthopes pretty early. So
Okay.
all he had was the 1 Hive Tyrant, the 1 Brain Bug, which was all the way in the back because you don't want to stop his powers, and the 1 Xanthope unit. So he only had really 3 denies that could be in 24 inches of me
Okay.
because everything else for me just backed up.
And he was probably saving those for like gates in Pyrrhic Amplification. He wasn't
Mhm.
gonna stop like your smites and your purifying flame and stuff. He
Yeah,
might
so I
try
don't think I.
might try to stop your like your vortex and stuff, but that's it.
Yeah, mainly he was trying to stop the center Purify Flame or Purify Ritual to try and
Oh,
stop me
okay.
from getting 4 points. Because if I
Right,
cast on
yeah.
3 objective, I get 4. So it's a
Yeah.
2 point, deny, which is great. Um,
That's true
so
too, yeah.
so the top, I clear the top. I kill all of his Raveners. The bottom, I clear the bottom, so I kill all of his Raveners. So I'm still in the ruins. So he still can't see me with all of his like smites and brain bugs and stuff. So on his turn, we counted out. This is what good players do. So we counted it out because he had like 20 minutes left on the clock. I had like 5. So he counted out all the points and he had to figure out what he can get for secondaries to try and, come up on top. As we counted it out, I gave him the most that he could get, which is killing my characters or leaders. Um, uh, the one ritual in the center, he took that, which I killed his hive tyrant, so he couldn't keep doing it. Um, and then he took banners. So those were his secondaries.
Mm-hmm.
So we gave him 11 on banners because we just assumed that that's what it was going to be. I gave him 6 points for killing a character and whatever, but he didn't do this yet. So I'm just giving him points just to kind of see. And then I just assumed that he was going to get off the ritual in the center, and I was still beating him by 4 points. It was like 2 or 4 points. I was still up. Um, so at that point, he kind of knew it was like over. So he's like, all right, I just want to play it out, see if I can get any more points. So he moved up his hive tyrant to try and charge my tech priest to try and get cranial feasting or whatever it's called. Um, he tried to move up to try and kill my last interceptor or strikes squad to get that extra point. And then he moved up his brain bug in the center to cast Purify Ritual. So I saved my last CP to roll 3 dice to deny on his Purify Ritual. I think he rolled like a 4 or something on 3 dice. Like it was pretty low. And I denied it. So I stopped those 3 or 4 points for the ritual in the center, which was huge.
Is
He
this
failed his 7-inch.
uh,
What?
which is this a Tyranids secondary?
No, the one where you cast in the center. Um, the
Oh,
ritual.
warp ritual.
Warp Ritual. Yeah, so he
Okay,
was
all right.
casting that in the
Gotcha.
center. He was doing it with his Hive Tyrant, but his Hive Tyrant died turn 1, so he didn't really have anybody else to do it with. His other Hive Tyrant flew up 17 inches and was, I think, 7 inches away from my Tech Priest, which if he kills the Tech Priest, he gets like 6 points or something.
Cranial
So,
feasting.
yeah. So he failed the charge. Like he rolled like a 5. So re-rolls it, rolls a 5. I'm like,
Oh
oh
man.
my. So he fails that charge. He
How high
fails.
was your heart rate right at this
Oh,
point?
dude. I mean, I went into the last turn knowing that I was still up, so that felt good. Um, and then we talked it out to try and see how many points I can get for killing shit. So I figured that I can kill his hive guard in the center of the thing. I felt like I can kill the 3 Zenthropes. Um, and I think that was all that I can kill on my turn. So at the end of the game, I think I got like 7 to 9 killing shit. I got Warp Ritual, I got like 10, which wasn't really a lot. And then Banners, I think I got like a 10 or 11. So my secondaries beat his secondaries because our primary was tied.
Yeah.
So he got, I
That's the
think,
name of the game at like high tables. That's what wins you games. Like you
100%.
go into like at the list building stage, you go into it assuming you're gonna max out your primary or at least tie with your opponent, and it all comes down to every point you can scrape out of your secondaries.
This is the best I've ever done with Tyranids. I got Feasting, he got 4 points.
Nice.
Ritual, he got 3 points. So 2 of his secondaries, I kept them to 7.
Wow.
Mine were Purify Ritual was a 9.
Okay.
Banners was 10, and Kill Shit, I got 10 points. So I kept his 2 secondaries to
Yeah.
7.
That's incredible. And
That was insane. And again, that was against somebody that I thought I was going to lose. Everybody thought I was going to lose. So after beating that guy on stream, first game with 4 hours of sleep, I was like, "Fuck, I gotta play 2 more games."
yeah, you're like, you're just like I got nothing left.
It was brutal. So we go to lunch. We're trying to plan out, me and my team, on who I'm gonna face, because it's me, Tony, who's a top Sisters player, TJ Lannigan, or I can get the pair down. So or I think squats. Voten. So
Oh,
Voten,
really?
I'd never played before, so I knew, I was like, well, that's gonna suck if I get paired into them.
Yeah.
Or I can get the pair
I
down.
don't. I don't. Yeah. Anyway,
So
please go on.
I luckily, how it worked was TJ and Tony paired off against each other. So those two were playing against each other on the second game because they were both undefeated, and I was the last undefeated to get the pair down. So I got the pair down, who was Zach, who just lost to TJ, and Zach's a local guy too. So Zach is a really good Blood Angels player. He actually came up with us,
It's pretty cool
and
to see Space Marines making it this far. I guess
his
Blood
list
Angels are
is
the
very
only
good.
Space Marines making it this far at this point, but
His list that he made, he's been running it for a long time, and he's tweaked it here and there, but I really like his list. It's got a lot of utility everywhere. So I played him because he was the uh, wind path, like the second, the fourth, like the most wind path. I was automatically going to get him. So I was like planning for all these different like random pairings, but really it was just going to be him the entire time, which I wish I knew that. Uh,
oh, interesting. So you're talking about
so
like run of show or whatever it's called?
the wind path determines like where your pairing is going to be. So since he was the only one to go like 3-1 or 4-1, it was automatically going to be him um
Into the pair
in that,
down.
yeah, into the pair down.
Got it. Okay.
So like Vanilla, he lost his first game, so his win path was 0. So I was never going to play Vanilla because he lost the first game,
Hmm.
even though he won the last 5.
Yeah.
So it was whoever won the most games leading up to that matchup.
Got it.
That's kind of how it worked. So Blood Angels game, I knew I played him before last GT at Palladium against Grey Knights, but I ran 4 Dread Knights with Blades of Victory. So a little bit different of a list. He ran 2 Golden Boys, jump pack guys. He ran the leader of the Golden Boys, the jump pack guy, Dante. He ran a apothecary that could bring back dudes. He ran 5 Centurions. He ran the one character that has fight last and 5 up mortal wound saves within 6 inches, which is huge. He ran a tank, which you don't usually see, T8 battle tank. And then he ran a skimmer with 3 last cannons and a missile pod. He ran 2 advanced deploy units, the snipers. And then he ran 2 units that can't deep strike within 12. Um,
Wow.
I forget what they're
That's a,
called.
that's a, what was this? What was his name again? Sorry.
Zach.
Zach. Zach Hiltz.
Yeah. So very different Blood Angel. Oh, and he ran 5 of the jump pack murder your face squad. Death Company
Yep.
with
I
3
was gonna
hammers.
I was gonna say I'm surprised I'm not hearing Death Company.
So they if he has first turn, he's in my face and just murder something. Last time I played Zach, 3 of those guys killed 12 of my um, strikes. So one one killed a 5-man, the other one killed another 5-man, and the other one killed like 2 or 3. Like they all swung in 3 different units and just murdered all of them in one go. Like 5
Wow.
attacks, hitting on 2s or hitting on 3s, rerolls.
This
Um,
is this is a
it was nuts.
really interesting list.
Cool,
Like,
right? Like it's so different, and he did very very well with it during the tournament.
yeah, he has a lot of forward deployers, Centurions, which is insane.
Yep.
And then he had a Gladiator Lancer.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yep. It's just a
What a
backfield T8, a big shot gun,
yeah.
and the land speed of moving 16 inches, getting some crazy last cannon shots on. So cool list. I played it before, so I kind of knew what I was looking for and what I was trying to not die to, which was the Death Company. I had a really good turn 1. His Death Company spent 1 CP to fall back 12 inches, so I couldn't charge at turn 1. I took over the side objective, or I took over the top objective with 2 units of interceptors. I just threw them forward because I had turn 1, so I redeployed aggressively, and I put them in the building. Put a banner down, cast a warp ritual, or psychic purify ritual. I put a 5-man unit in the center objective, cast warp ritual, and then on the backfield objective, I hopped up. He wasn't on it. He was behind it, so I couldn't like shoot him turn 1 or smite him. So I hopped another unit over there and casted that. So I casted on 4 of them, which got me 5 points turn 1.
Wow.
I put down
Nice.
2
Yeah.
banners. It was awesome. So I put down 2 banners. Um, and then the last one I did was kill shit. So I gated the guys on the right side back to my objective, or behind my cover. So I hopped them up, cast it, and then went back. He took the one secondary, the Space Marine one, where if you kill somebody on an objective, you get 4 points. I forget what it was called, but
Is that a Space
it's
Marine
almost like
one or
Long
is that
War.
a Blood Angels one?
It's a Space Marine one.
Oh, yeah. I'm not
Um,
familiar with that one
so
offhand.
it's just like Long War, where if you kill something on the objective that he controlled, you get 4 points. So I played the entire game off the objectives,
What?
which he was like, "Fuck! If you don't take that against good players, like Long War, you don't take against good players if you're Chaos, because you can get around it so easily. Like you can either
You mean
shoot that guy off the objective, you can charge, kill them, and then consolidate off the objective. So you play around the objectives by not staying on the objective. If you're going to stay on objective, you have to make sure he can't get to you
in the
or shoot
middle?
you off.
So like
So
on your forward most objectives, you just you play around it, not on it.
correct. So like I kept my back objective and I kept the top objective, which got me 8 points every turn, which is really all you need. And then the right one we kept trading. So he would go on it, I would shoot him off, or I'd smite him off. He would then come back on it, I would charge him and then consolidate off to keep that objective like null and void. The center objective we
Huh.
were fighting over. So the center objective, he hopped up his death company, which again I think I told you this before, where I shot from afar with my Dread Knights and did literally nothing to Space Marines in cover. So that was dumb. Um,
Yay.
and then they hop out and charge my interceptors. Now, this is the first time I've ever spent transhuman on my interceptors. So it's 2 CP. He hits me on 4s, and then only wounds me on 4s. And I have a 4-up save from Sanctuary on the center interceptors. So I actually live with 3 guys. So that stops him from getting 4 points. So I needed to spend that CP to stop him from getting 4 points with that secondary. So I live, I fight back. I think I killed 2 or 3 of them with my guys. I spent 1 CP to reroll hits and wounds of 1.
Hmm.
So I do that. Then on my turn, I spend 1 CP to leave combat, shoot, and charge. So I spent 1 CP to leave combat to try and, you know, fall back and shoot and then charge them again if they live. But I think I moved them to the right side where his snipers moved up onto the objective and the guys that can't teleport within 12 moved up. So I have to clear that zone again. Top zone he left. He didn't move everybody in my top left zone. His tank slowly kept creeping up towards it to try and get some shots off, but with the terrain setup, he couldn't really see in the building that way. So that was protecting me on that side. I basically have 15 fucking Marines on that side of the table just waiting for him to throw his golden boys out that way. But he kept his golden boys in the ruins for a pretty long time, which they're 2-up saves. If they're in cover, they're not dying. So I told him he's got to be more aggressive with his golden boys, especially into Grey Knights. He was just afraid about the Mortal Wound Librarian, which you should be.
Yeah.
Mortal Wound Librarian came down with my Dread Knight on the right side, and just smited the shit of the guys off the objective. I think I did Vortex of Doom, Purify Flame, Smite, and I left him with 1 sniper, which then I charged and killed the sniper and then consolidated off the objective.
Okay.
So
I'm
I,
seeing your game
I
plan now.
so I kept that objective clear, and now my librarian's on the right side, so that way if he does bring his guys out, my librarian's there just waiting to kill his golden boys. Because he's
Yep.
got the guy that has the 5-up mortal wound save in the center on his objective, so it's blocking everybody. So I can't throw my Libby towards them because they'll just make their saves. So once he starts throwing his guys out, that's when I could be more aggressive to try and smite and kill them. So we kept playing the game. I gave him, I think, 4 or 8 points of that secondary because I had to. Like I had to eventually be on
Yeah.
an objective
Yeah, if you
for
want to
him to.
score primary, you have to be on objectives. Last I heard.
So shock tactics. Shock tactics
Oh,
is,
did they
is
change
what it
it?
was.
I don't remember shock
It
tactics
was
being
3.
good.
They upped it to 4.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
So
Okay.
he took banners, shock tactics, and which he was gonna max anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Banners he got 7 points because I kept taking his banners down. And then shock tactics he got 12 because at the end of the game I gave him 4 just to see like how many points he would get to see if he can beat me. He didn't actually get it. Like we got to his Centurions moved out, everybody started moving out. His Golden Boys moved up top, his other Golden Boys moved down below, his Centurions went in the middle. That's when he started like branching out. So I killed his Golden Boys on the right side with my Librarian, just dead. The guys up top died with smites and then charging of 2 interceptor squads. And then I tied up his tank. And the Centurions in the center live. They're just super fucking tanky. Couldn't kill them. He brought them back every single turn. Like the free apothecary just kept bringing one back.
Yep.
And I stopped his Overwatch with my 10-point power. So that was cool. So I stopped the Centurion Overwatch for free. So that's where I used it that match.
That's a lot of flamers. So many
Yeah.
flamers.
Yeah, and all the bolters too, like the hurricane bolters or whatever they have. So my turn, or he went second. So on his bottom 4, we talked it out and like he couldn't get enough points to win, but he wanted to keep going to see how many points he can actually get. And I was giving him points. I was like, all right, you're gonna get banners here, you're gonna put a banner here, there, you're gonna do that, and then you're gonna get 4 points for shock assault if you can, let's say you clear the zone. So I was giving him all these points, and I was still beating him by I think 4 after we counted it out. So he's like, no, I want to play. I'm like, all right, man, we'll play. I then moved my Librarian out. I moved Drago out. I moved my Dread Knight out. I moved my Interceptors out. I moved my Strikes out, and I just smite the shit out of his Centurions and charge one of his characters and kill his character. So now he doesn't have anything left to get points. So he winds up like putting Dante on the top to put a banner down. And then he kept his banner on the center with his one character. So at the end of the game, he had Dante, he had the tank, he had the mortal wound character, and then got 5 guys in the backfield. So that's all he's left. And I think he finished off with what was it, 91?
My research showed you won 83 to 73. That's what was on best coast pairings.
So 83 to 73. Which I think I was like, at the end, it was just like, I had it going into the top of 5. So I just had to like kill all of his Centurions so that way he couldn't get to my backfield and steal the back objective or take the 4-point trade. So Dante in the top corner, I had strikes literally sitting off of the objectives. So he couldn't get the 4 points. And then the center, I didn't even go into the center. And then the right, I sat on the right objective with my Dread Knight. So I knew he couldn't kill a Dread Knight with the 2 characters. So that's how that came. And he's like, well, now I know not to take shock assault against good players that know how to combat it.
I
But
mean,
it
he
was so
still got
weird.
12 on it, according to your
I
map
think I
here.
gave him 12 at the end, thinking that he was going to get it, but he didn't
Oh.
actually get
Oh, I see.
that
I
4
see what you're
points.
saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, it was a crazy game because I knew if he was more aggressive, he probably would have had a better matchup into me, like
Mm-hmm.
putting his Golden Boys into the center, like in cover, with all of his characters just moving up, and then next turn moving up and then charging my backfield. I think if he does that play, he has such a better route into Grey Knights than just being very defensive and waiting.
Well, I'm going to take this lull in the conversation to remind everybody you can ask us questions. It's been a little bit since we got one, and we have 12 people watching right now, so somebody's
Awesome.
got to have a question.
It's so early in the morning too.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
we
got
have
6 watching my stream, but
oh,
mine's not as good as yours. Mine keeps buffering.
yours is buffering. Oh.
Yeah, well, I got stream going, and then I got Discord going, and then I got OBS going, and then I got like this, like I got so much
Oh,
shit going
I
on.
see.
It's very hard to stream twice.
I got you.
So if you guys are watching my stream, go over to NoobHammer and watch his stream because it's a lot better.
I also have one 1 gigabit internet, so I got fat pipes.
You got that Verizon shit or what?
No, it's a local ISP, but I don't think anybody wants to like doesn't I don't think they give a shit about my ISP. But they do care about your game into TJ Lannigan, who was
That's gonna
running
be the
his
topic of
thousands
the video.
right? Like,
All right, I will be right back, but ask me a question.
oh, okay. I guess he needs to use the bathroom or whatever. Yeah, ask me questions, y'all. I did not know he was gonna take off, so this is awkward. I can go to this view until he comes back. I hope he's just using the bathroom real quick. This makes me want to try to run a list like this. I've always liked the Stuart Trainer style, like infantry gray list or Grey Knights list, which I think got really good in AOC. I've been kind of running a lot of Dread Knights just because I like the models. So it's true, Ken. When Mother Nature calls, you have to answer. That is absolutely absolutely true.
I had a big ass thing of coffee,
Oh, there you are.
and we've been here for what, 2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours, 4 minutes. But who's counting?
Who's
All
counting?
right. So TJ Lannigan.
All right. Going into TJ, again, very very good player. One of the top in the Northeast, in the world, really. And
He's ranked 30th in the world, by the way. Yeah,
so
pretty good.
I every time I play Thousand Suns, we're always at a disadvantage just because they always get +1 of their casts. We have -1 deny, but them getting their casts off easier and Cabal points to say no denies. Like they have a 3/6 deny thing. We only have 3d6 drop the lowest. So I feel like people at Games Workshop like Thousand Suns better than Grey Knights, even though
They're
we came in at the same exact time.
they're trying to give him a little something something because they're so goddamn hard to paint.
They look, his models are freaking amazing. I took pictures of them and they are gorgeous models. But
So
with that game,
which mission was this, and what were your secondaries? Like, knowing you're going into a Psyker army, did you even think about Purifying Ritual, or did you take it purposefully to like bait out those?
so that's the
Denies.
issue is the one time I didn't take Purifying Ritual, like a long time ago, was realization that you should always take Purifying Ritual, no matter how many Psychers, even against another Grey Knight player, you're taking Purifying Ritual. And the reason because is you're casting this on a 5. They have to decide what they're going to spend their denies on. So you have so many casts of this, like it doesn't go up in casts. You can cast it with from almost everybody on the table, and you're getting points for doing it. So you should always take Purifying Ritual because it's again a mind game. Are they going to deny this, or are they going to save their deny for Empiric Amplification or Gate of Affinity or Hammerhand or Smite or whatever it may be? So you always want to take Purifying Ritual, even going into Thousand Suns, which don't have a +1 to deny, but they can still roll off the deny. Same with Tyranids. Tyranids, you still want to take Purifying Ritual, even though it's harder. Because again, same thing, they have to decide what they're going to deny and what they're not going to deny.
Right.
So yeah, I took Purifying Ritual, I took Banners, and I took Kill Shit. Which, if you can see, that's usually the trend. I didn't take Teleport Assault.
I think you and I are on the same wavelength for our secondaries, because I almost always do the exact same thing.
So we did the mission where it's long ways, and it's all spec scan. So you can start on the objectives on this map. So I knew Banners was going to be easy. I knew Purify Ritual was, at least I was going to get the 2 on my thing pretty easily. and then kill shit. He was surprised I took that secondary.
No,
I keep saying kill
you,
shit, but
you mean
it's
no prisoners, right?
no prisoners. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I call no prisoners kill shit because that's really what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So it's always no prisoners, but flamers. He's got 3 units of flamers. He's got 2 scarab Terminator bricks, 8-mans. He's got a shit ton of characters. He's got the 1 demon character that gives +1 to wound and reroll 1s or something, +1 strength. He's got 2 rubric marines. And I think he's got 20 cultists. Yeah, so it's a pretty standard list, and especially now with demons and all the flamers, he brought 1 5-man, 2 4-man, and I faced them plenty of times before to know what they do and how scary they are. He kept 1 on the table and he deep struck other 2, and I knew that my 10-point upgrade was going to come in clutch this game. So turn 1 basically was he got turn 1, I believe. Yeah, so he gets turn 1. He runs up his cultists in the center. His 1 guy hops out, does warp ritual, and then hops back, and he makes it undeniable, so you can't even deny it.
Yeah.
And then he hops
must
back.
be
So
nice.
he's doing the yo-yo effect, which is all Thousand Suns. So hops up 12, casts it, hops back 12. So that's like an auto 12 for Thousand Suns. He took the other one where if he casts more blessings, and then the other 2 blessings, malediction, and witchfire. If he casts more than you, he gets a point for each, so he can get 15 max on that. We have an advantage where we can cast not as much, but we can at least deny him 1 or 2 points a turn if we cast more or equal amount that he does. So if he casts 2 blessings, I need to cast 2 blessings, and then he doesn't get that point.
Right. That's
Something I learned from
interesting, like, because the way those 2 armies play that's very differently in the psychic phase is that, you know, we want to cast powers a lot of the time for buffs with like the, you know, the mortal wound Libby obviously not withstanding. But T-Suns, I feel like they just want to hit you with mortal wounds. You know, like they want to do damage in that phase where we want to be like, we will do damage, but I'm only gonna cast smites if I really have nothing left to cast. You know what I mean?
Those smites aren't witchfire, so I couldn't just cast smite like 1,000 times a turn. But what I learned from TJ was you can cast powers before deciding where it's going to go or if it even goes off. So I thought you always needed a target or to be in range of something to cast powers. But instead, if you just cast Empiric Amplification, you're done. You casted Empiric Amplification. If you cast Purify Flame, you just cast Purify Flame. You don't actually need a target to be in range of anything to actually cast it. So that's how he was getting all these casts off, is he was just casting like 15 powers up into the air.
No.
Like he basically casts it and just throws it up in the air and it goes off. So he'll get like 5 or 6 on blessings. He'll get like 4 on malediction and then like 2 on witchfire. So
that feels like that's not supposed to work that way.
So if you read the rules in the book, which I read it, Judge came over, looked it all up, and all that stuff.
Holy moly!
Says to generate the power, you roll off. Then it says pick a thing. Then it says this. Then it says that. So like, and his secondary says you need to generate powers. So it's like that wording is how you get 15 points almost on that on every single game. Is you just cast your shit and throw it up in the air. So the only way I was able to not deny some of that was I was casting my shit and throwing it up in the air to stop him. So I was able to keep that, I think, down to he got 2 points every turn instead of getting 3 points every turn.
So at least you got to use the same rule against him.
Yep. And I only used it to stop his, so I didn't really need to use it. Most of the time we don't have to do Sanctuary for shits and giggles or Empiric Amplification.
Right, but it's like, oh, I gotta, you know, I better cast Hammer Hand because I need 1 more blessing or something.
Yeah, I casted like so many fucking times that game. So he did that one, and then his killing shit, which was Prowless, was almost a guarantee against me, because if he kills a unit with a psychic ability, he gets like 3 points. If he kills a psyker, he gets 4 points. If he kills a character, he gets 5 points.
Yep.
So it was just made for him.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I should have been more defensively. I was saying this where if I'm blocking my characters off more defensively, I might have been able to have a closer game towards the end because we only made it to turn, I think, 4. Like bottom 3, we might have made it till. So we talked it out for like 1 or 2 turns, and we rolled off to make sure that because we're both psychic armies, so we rolled off to make sure that we were making our powers. So I rolled off for Purify Ritual. He tried to deny me. He rolled off for the center warp ritual. He rolled off for killing my dude. He rolls a fucking 12 for nuking my librarian in the face. So my librarian takes like flat 3 mortal wounds plus 3 for the extra cabal points, and then all the characters around take D3 mortal wounds. So
wow.
it's like just our Vortex of Doom does 1 mortal wound.
I was gonna
does
say
D3.
that's an insane
Again,
Vortex
so Games
of Doom.
Workshop, Thousand Suns, love. Games Workshop Grey Knights, just
also D3 plus 3 against the primary target is way better than 2D3.
yes, 100%.
Just saying.
And the cabal points to like do extra like mortal wounds afterwards. Like you nuke down whatever the fuck you want to nuke down, and that's the power that you can target characters, without being the closest unit. We have to be the closest unit. So another thing that just sets
so
us.
how do you really feel, Derek?
So if I just hid my guys a little bit better, it might because the librarian did nothing that game. That was the game that librarian did absolute nothing. So I deep struck him in the open to get line of sight on his Terminators and maybe killed none. And then he came out and then nuked my librarian. So if the librarian deep strikes, like maybe even in the backfield to kill like some cultists or something, then he wouldn't have died there, which would have saved me 5 points.
Yeah,
so
and he would have had to come back with one of his units that he doesn't want to come back with in order to kill you with psychic. Yeah.
And I denied his psychic powers the first 3 turns. Like he tried to smite and kill my strikes or whatever in the center, but I kept trying like denying him, and I kept out of line of sight. So I actually denied that power 3 fucking turns. It wasn't until turn 4 and 5 that I had to get out of, hop out of my ruin and kill shit. Because if not, I wasn't going to get the killing secondary.
No prisoners.
No prisoners. Yeah. So I had to actually kill stuff to get that power. So we gave him max on that. We gave him max on interrogation because I couldn't stop it because it's undeniable. And then Wrath of Magnus was 10 points. His primary was 38. My primary was 38. I got 11 on banners. And I got 15 for Purify Ritual. So that was clutch.
Yeah, that is that's pretty gnarly.
That was cool. 15 for Purify Ritual, and then I got 8 for killing stuff.
Okay.
So I finished off with 82, and he had 88. So the only way to stop that was to be the Prowless one, killing my shit. So if I could have just tried to keep my characters safe, he might have got, 369 for that instead of 15. So that's a 6-point swing. So then we tie rather than him winning by 6.
What would that have done? Do you guys go to a lightning round and like play again?
I think you go to tiebreakers. It's like however many you have left on the table or how many points you killed at the tournament.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I was gonna,
but that would have been fucking hilarious.
Gonna say like, good, nice tie. Go ahead and re-rack. You gotta play another game.
It was snowing too. Like it was snowing like half the day, so there was just snow everywhere. We have a 2-hour ride back. He's driving like 3 hours. We were so tired. And again, I was on 4 hours of sleep going into the day.
And nine hours of gaming on your feet.
Yeah.
Or pretty
no
close
chairs
to
either.
9
No
hours.
chairs.
No chairs.
It was. They just didn't want everybody to like bump over all of them and trip and fall and shit. So
when there's a chair at a tournament, I try to take advantage of it. I usually don't because I'm just excited to play. But like,
so at the end of the game, he had a unit of Terminators left. He had all but 1 character left. He had Rubric Marine left, and I think he had 4 Flamers, which stayed back to stop the backfield gating. I didn't have a lot left. I had a Dread Knight on 1 wound. Interceptors, Drago. I don't know if he would have died or not. He was left, and then like servitors. I think they lived, and my Rhino lived too. So the Rhino was alive. But it was a lot closer game than I thought. Everybody came over to start watching our game when they finished theirs because it was like
you're the winner
team
table,
Team
man.
Scotland, Team Canada, fucking Vanilla. Like they were all just watching our game. I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
man.
But it was fun.
No pressure. No pressure.
Not at all. Everybody was surprised on how Green Knights performed, obviously, and they were just all saying like, "Hey man, congrats, you made it up to TJ with Grey Knights." I was like, "Yeah, thanks, man. I'm tired. Can I go to bed?"
Like, that's great. Let's talk about this later. I need a nap.
It was a good time. Great players, great store, Mythicos stuff, and they're running another one in March. So
Very cool. Yeah.
grand tournament in March, which I think first place gets cash. So that was cool.
Oh, nice. I have GT coming up in March as well. I need to go to some RTTs for some more practice. But, yeah.
What are you going to be running?
I will probably. I'm not sure yet. I'll probably. If like Marines 2.0 is out by then, I might want to run my Death Watch. I love my Grey Knights, but I'm also painting Votan, so
Oh shit!
I got months to worry about it. So,
yeah, I don't know what I'm running for LVO because LVO is in January.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll have Chaos done by then, or just say screw it and go with Grey Knights to try and get up on ITC battles.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can't really go look at and see what the ITC rankings are anymore because they changed the the website and now you can't search it very easily. But that's awesome, dude. So anything planned between here and March? I assume so. You're gonna hit up some RTTs or at least do some more like Garage Hammer.
Yeah, we got a ton of videos we got to record. We're streaming now, usually on Mondays.
Oh, very cool.
In the battle bunker, but we have a RTT coming up the 7th of January, and then we have LVO the 25th to the 30th of January, and then it all starts back over with RTTs twice a month.
Very cool, man. Very cool.
But
Sindri wants me to run my Death Watch. The problem is we lose our AOR on January 1st, and the non-AOR like Death Watch is just super weak right now.
So. I think All Specs Tactics did a video of like the 10 or 12 worst armies right now in the meta, and I think they were like top 3 as the worst. Grey Knights were on the list as well. Grey Knights were like 10th worst army. They have like a 43 or 47% win ratio. But yeah, Death Watch was up there.
Yep. It's not.
They're such a cool army though. Like the lore is insane.
Once the Army of Renown's gone, man, I don't think Death Watch has a. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm losing Terminest.
And with so many, yes, exactly. But no one runs that really. So, like, but
this guy.
Oh really? Oh cool. So you have a lot of Poxwalkers.
Oh yeah, it's usually 80 Poxwalkers,
Poxwalkers,
big squad of Terminators, all the characters, and then all the free point
upgrades,
Death Guard units. Yeah, like that unit just hits so fucking hard. Plague Marines.
Yeah, and the other thing that makes Death Watch kind of poopy right now is there are a lot of armies you can't reroll wounds against, and that's all they do. Like their whole shtick is rerolling wounds. So if
same with Death Guard.
If you just turn that off, you're just kind of Codex Space Marines in black armor.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna give everybody a couple more minutes for some questions. But we got to start winding down the stream. I have to go to work today.
Same.
That might surprise some people. But yes, I do have to actually pay my bills.
Yeah, today's my late day. That's how I was able to go in the morning.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what they hopefully do with Marines 2.0.
I honestly think if they get rid of Armor Contempt, Grey Knights are back in the run of things. Just because all of our stratagems that are -1 AP kind of went away with that Armor Contempt, and our Dread Knights don't hit nearly as hard because of Armor Contempt.
Yeah.
So them not getting it as well, they die easier. And then but like all the weapons, their AP2 weapons now go to AP1, and then if they're in cover, go to AP0. So everybody has 3-up saves against Strength 8, 2 damage autocannons. Like it just
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they get rid of Armed Contempt, Grey Knights will be back. I think playing a lot.
Of course,
right?
now you don't have AOC, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I play them almost like as if they don't, because I expect them to die. So if I throw a 5-man interceptor squad out in the center to kill a unit, they're going to die. Like I'm not expecting them to live.
Yeah.
So if I don't have it, I was expecting that either way.
Oh, Ken. Oh. Yep. That's money in, money out, Ken, right?
What's that?
Oh, he's just saying he has to go get his check and then give it back to everybody else except himself.
Isn't that
All right.
true?
Well, thank you, Derek, very much for being on the show. I know we've been trying to get something going for a while now, so
Yeah,
it's cool that
you've been so busy too. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's not. It hasn't necessarily been good busy. It's just been like lots of stress.
You're
But
up to what, 1,200 subs?
I think so. I don't know. I haven't
I remember
honestly
when we were like
really looked in a
racing for
while.
1,000.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I'm at 1,129. So
Awesome.
yeah. Thank you everybody for showing up. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. I will probably be doing my RTT recap Sunday morning. I need to sync with the wifey real quick and make sure that there aren't plans I'm not aware of, but that's my tentative promise to you now. I did win that RTT, so my first real tournament win, which feels pretty good. And I'm just gonna end it now. Don't forget to call your mother.